My beloved child, I call you to stand still upon the bright shore of dawn, when dew still rests upon the grass, and the city has yet to awaken. It is in that sacred stillness that the deepest part of a person is revealed, like calm water, clear yet easily stirred. I do not call you to plant fear. I call you to place in your hands a quiet compass that I have long hidden within you, serene peace. It is not loud, argumentative, or forceful. It simply stands like a small, unquenchable flame, guiding you amid the alluring yet confusing voices of the world. When you touch this compass, you will discover what many often overlook. Peace is not the absence of conflict, but the presence of me right in the midst of the hidden battles within the heart. I know you have walked through many narrow alleys of life where joy and sorrow take turns, leaving their marks. I have seen you rise, and I have seen you weary. I have heard you whisper in the long nights, "What must I do to not lose my way?" Out of love for you, I will reveal a mystery that many know only in theory. Discernment is not suspicion, nor is it withdrawal. Discernment is the ability to hear the tone of truth behind eloquent words, to see the fruit that follows a smile or a promise. You may hear beautiful phrases and witness flawless gestures, but if your spirit grows tense and your peace begins to falter, then your compass is softly whispering, "Pause, look closer." I do not leave you alone in this work. I have placed within you a gentle voice that always turns toward the light. Remember this, my child, 3 people will soon cross the threshold of your life. They are not strangers by chance, but patterns carefully woven to test your boundaries to see whether you know where your compass lies. The first will come with sweetness words as soft as the March wind eyes that find the fragile corners of your heart and cover them with the feeling of being chosen. They will paint beautiful stories of the future, weaving dazzling visions like ribbons in the Sunday. But my child's sweetness can hide a needle. Look behind the curtain of flattery. Do you still desire to share your heart with those who have loved you faithfully? Do the healthy connections in your life suddenly seem burdensome when that sweetness begins to isolate you from the steady love that has long nourished you? Peace will whisper, "This is not freedom, this is isolation wrapped in silk." The second will come clothed in order, stern voice, strict structure, boundaries drawn as straight as steel lines. You will hear must, should, and must not beating like a steady drum. Discipline is good. I love discipline that springs from love. But what they bring is not gentle guidance. It is rigid control. Not teaching, but chains polished to shine. You will feel as though you are always a few steps short of enough, and your heart will curl up like a leaf pressed too tightly. If your peace withdraws beneath their commands, know this: it is not my voice calling you. For I lead you by faith, not by fear. I correct to heal, not to paralyze the soul. The third, you have not yet seen their shadow in the words you send me, but I reveal them now so you will not be caught unprepared. They will come with half-truths, not as sweet as the first, not as hard as the second, but like a rippling mirror reflecting you yet distorting your form. They will ask questions that sound caring but hide the yeast of doubt. They will listen as a friend, but reshape your words into another story. You will find yourself exhausted from constant explanations, clarifications, and appeasements. Your peace will thin like mist before the Sunday. When you feel drained after each conversation, when your view of others becomes clouded because of a gentle warning, place your hand on the compass. It will point you back to the simplicity of love. Beloved, to recognize you do not need to become distrustful. You only need to remain faithful to the signal of peace. Let peace be the gentle referee within you. If something asks you to quiet your honest laughter, to withdraw from the wholesome community, or to trade inner freedom for momentary security, that referee will blow the whistle. Do not ignore that sound just because the game feels intense. My child, to pause is not cowardice. It is the courage of one who knows where they belong. My beloved child, I know some will ask, how can I tell the difference between true peace and fleeting comfort? I answer you, this true peace endures. It does not depend on the tone of another's voice, nor does it change color with applause or the expressions of a crowd. True peace remains after the conversation is over, even when you have had to speak difficult truths. It nourishes kindness, expands the capacity to listen, and keeps the heart warm toward your own faults and the faults of others. Fleeting comfort, on the other hand, is like a coat of paint, lovely at first glance, but it fades the moment tears touch it. When you leave a person and feel hollow, when you walk away from a conversation and feel closed off, that is not peace. It is the feeling of being given and then taken. I also want you to remember, truth is never afraid of light. Those who come from me will not fear your questions. They will not fear being tested. They will not fear when you bring your story into the safe circle of wise hearts who have walked with you faithfully. The deceiver, however, will urge you to keep secrets, to step away from trust, to decide quickly before you have time to breathe. But I am never in haste. My love for you does not need to rush to prove itself. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Ecclesiastes 3:1-1, not in hurried time, not in pressured time, but in the time of nurturing, when your heart is watered by light and truth. My child, I give you the right to pause. Pause not to delay, but to separate the noise from the call. Pause to see where the stream of peace runs through your choices ahead. Pause to ask 3 simple yet powerful questions. Does this draw me away from those who love me in healthy ways? Does this require me to deny my true self in order to measure up? After this interaction, does peace within me expand or shrink? The answer of peace is usually short and clear. It does not justify endlessly. It simply lays a hand on your shoulder and says, here or no, trust that voice. I also speak to you about boundaries, something many mistake for coldness, but in truth, they are the embrace of responsibility. Boundaries do not drive love away, they make space for love to remain healthy. When you know you are unconditionally loved, you no longer need to prove it by letting everything enter the garden of your soul. You can open the door, and you can also close it when your peace is being invaded. You can listen, but you can also refuse. When words before you fail to honor your God-given dignity, you can forgive, but you can also step away, so forgiveness is not confused with permission to be hurt again. I am with you in each of these subtle movements. Do not fear mistakes in your early steps of discernment. I do not demand perfection. I walk beside you so that you may mature. Each time you listen to the compass of peace, your spiritual muscles grow stronger. Each time you realize you have chosen wrongly, do not condemn yourself. Return to me and continue walking. Through this journey, you will notice peace becoming more refined. It can smell the scent of truth amid mixed perfumes. It can hear the footsteps of goodness among rushing crowds. It can recognize an uncalculating gaze among countless measuring eyes. My dear one, I invite you to practice this in your daily life. Before any meeting, take 3 slow breaths. Place your hand over your heart and whisper, Lord, let your peace be the umpire within me. During conversation, don't just hear words. Listen to their effect on the rhythm of your heartbeat. Afterward, take 5 quiet minutes and ask, what grew within me, faith or fear, kindness or withdrawal, freedom or bondage? Write down 1 short line. Over time, you will build an inner map where the dangerous shortcuts are marked and the paths leading to green meadows are highlighted. I also caution you, do not walk alone. Discernment does not bloom fully in prolonged isolation. I place you in the community, not so they can decide for you, but so the light of many hearts can illuminate one issue from different angles. The deceiver will always try to cut you off from the garden, knowing a lone tree is easier to fell. But I plant you in a garden where the good wind blows, where roots intertwine into a network of strength. When you bring your story to upright souls, you will hear questions that do not accuse counsel, that does not control, and the peace within you will find confirmation. Test everything, hold fast to what is good. The ancient teaching remains as sound as the day it was spoken. To test is not to tear others down, but to lay what you hear beneath the light of kindness. To hold fast is not stubbornness, but loyalty to what has been proven by lasting peace. You are not the judge of the world, you are the keeper of your inner garden. Tend the soil, pull the weeds, water, faithfully shield from storm and glare. Then gentleness, joy, self-control, and faithfulness will bloom. And when those three figures pass by, the sweet-tongued, the rigid, and the half-true, they will see your garden has fences, signs, and the glow of peace. In such a place, deceit cannot take root. Beloved, I close this first part with a simple truth. You already have enough. You do not need a new spell, nor a secret formula. You only need to return to what I have already placed within you, peace as your referee, discernment as your sight, and community as your shoulder. From now on, when those three figures draw near, one with honeyed words, one with rigid rules, and one with a distorted mirror, you will no longer panic. You will stand upright, breathe calmly, place your hand on the compass, and know which way leads home. And I, the one who has loved you before every dawn, will walk to your left and your right, before you and behind you, so that the voice of peace will never be drowned by the noise of the world. My beloved child, now I take you one step deeper to the subtle signs that hurried eyes often miss. For deception rarely arrives with loud noise. It moves softly like mist settling over familiar landscapes, making everything appear right. Discernment, therefore, is not only about recognizing what is clearly wrong, but about reading the rhythm of life, knowing when a string in the melody has gone flat, even though the tune still sounds pleasing. First comes the one with sweetness. You will notice how swiftly they can read your emotional needs, how they speak exactly what your heart longs to hear, how they touch old wounds that have long fallen silent. They resemble an early summer rain, refreshing, promising, awakening dormant sprouts. Yet observe three things. 1. When you are near them, do the wholesome memories of those who once nurtured you stay warm, or do they suddenly feel distant and burdensome? 2. Does their care follow a steady rhythm, or does it swing with impulse? Intense one day, absent the next, leaving you chasing proof of your worth. 3. Do they honor your boundaries, or do they treat every boundary as a wall to break for the sake of their louder song of freedom? Those who come from me respect the rhythm of your heart and do not rush to pick the lock of your soul. They may speak gently, but they do not use gentleness as a master key. They may understand your wounds, but they never exploit them as currency for closeness. The counterfeit, however, craves quick decisions and grand promises before roots of trust have even formed. When peace within you is pushed aside to make room for intoxication, know this, that breeze is not the morning wind of grace. It is the swirling gust that can uproot young trees from the garden of peace. Next comes the one robbed in order. Learn to distinguish healing discipline from petrifying control. Healing discipline is like a gardener pruning in the right season, allowing new branches to reach the sunday. It releases life-clearing space for fruit to grow. Petrifying control, however, cuts from fear, cutting too much, leaving the field barren. They will speak of standards of right and wrong in a tone devoid of compassion. You will begin to measure yourself by scores instead of breath. Your heart will turn into an examination room, and God in your mind will feel like a stern invigilator. That is, when you must pause and ask, does this holiness they preach make me love more, show more patience, more joy, or does it only make me more closed, more guarded, my beloved child? True holiness carries the fragrance of kindness. It knows how to say no to what harms the soul, yet it also knows how to wait, to soothe, to encourage. Those who come from me may teach you discipline, but never at the cost of your dignity. in exchange for acceptance. They awaken the good already planted within you, rather than labeling your lack as your identity. You will feel the difference within your own body. Under healing discipline, your shoulders open, your breath deepens. Under control, your shoulders tense, your stomach knots, and your sleep thins like paper. Now comes the one of half-truth, the rippled mirror. They may retell your story almost accurately, making it hard to refute. They ask questions that sound caring, yet each question is shaped to lead you toward their conclusion. They enjoy redefining others in their absence, shading conversations with faint negativity, so you will stay alert. After a few encounters, you'll notice your trust in the community quietly diminishing, while suspicion rises like yeast in dough. Here, the most reliable sign is not their logic, but the fruit within you. After listening, peace or unease, openness or constriction, compassion or judgment, by their fruits. You will know them. These words are gentle enough to lift, yet sharp, enough to slice through the veil of deceit. My child, I will teach you a small practice to test everything without hardening your heart, the ritual of 3 lights. The first light, truth before me. When faced with an invitation or a new connection, stand still and pray, Lord, shine your light upon this. Then write down what is plainly and without emotional embellishment. Just a short paragraph. The second light, truth before yourself. Breathe deeply and listen to your body and emotions. Where do you feel tension? What fear has been sugar-coated? What desire is asking to be filled by a shortcut? Write a few honest lines. The third light, truth, within a trusted community. Bring it to 2 or 3 wise people who have walked through storms with you. Ask them not to command, but to reflect, not to judge, but to uphold. If all 3 lights point the same direction, walk forward in peace. If they diverge, slow down, for grace is never absent to the one who waits. I also want you to learn the language of boundaries, clear enough to be understood, gentle enough to be gracious. With the sweet-tongued, your boundary might sound like, I appreciate your concern, but I won't make major decisions while emotions are high. Let's reconnect after I've prayed and spoken with my trusted circle. With rigidness, your boundary might be, thank you for your advice, but I cannot sign a commitment that would silence my conscience. I may need more time to discern. With the half-truth, it might be, I don't discuss others when they're not present. If there's something to address, let's speak together with everyone involved to keep things clear. You'll see that gentle clarity often calms hidden currents, and if they do not calm, they reveal themselves, making discernment easier for you. And you may ask, what if I've already fallen too deep? My child, there is no pit deeper than my saving arm. I do not count your missteps to settle accounts. I count every breath that turns back toward me. Restoration always begins with the smallest truth you can speak today. Confess to me, share with someone trustworthy, accept the adjustments needed. Remember, mercy is the air you breathe. You need not hold your breath to return. What matters is rhythm, one steady step each day, walking straight in the direction of peace. I also want you to know that stillness is not emptiness. It is the dwelling place of wisdom. When the world demands instant answers, delay your response. Say, I'll reply on, and truly give time for the sand to settle. Water mirrors the sky only when it stands still. Many wrong decisions are not born from lack of facts, but from an unsettled heart. Train yourself in this sacred pause. It will become an invisible shield between you and every urgent impulse. In all things, do not lose your gentleness. Discernment does not require sharp swords or heavy labels. Some walk in the shadows today who may return to the light tomorrow. You set boundaries not to punish, but to preserve dignity, yours and theirs. Speak truth without humiliation. Step back without bitterness. Such an attitude keeps your heart soft, so when I open the door of healing, you are still warm enough to walk through it. And if you need a whisper from Scripture to anchor your soul, Hold this as your quiet refrain. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. When the referee has blown the whistle, do not keep playing. Honor that call even if the crowd within and around still roars. Then you will see the match of your life is played under a broader, brighter sky where you no longer drift between cheers and jeers, but run freely in the breeze of divine freedom. My beloved child, the road ahead may still hold the three shadows, but you are no longer who you were. In your hand is the compass of peace. On your lips, the language of boundaries. In your steps, the rhythm of stillness. And around you, the embrace of community. With these gentle tools, you will not need weapons. You will walk with intention, listen with purpose, love with discipline. And though the morning mist may settle, the grass in your garden will remain green, and the sun will pass to expose every slippery surface. I am here beside you so that whenever you lean toward a strange voice, my hand will touch yours lightly and guide you back homeward. My child, I desire to place within your life a quiet yet enduring rhythm like a hidden liturgy of the heart, so that you will not only recognize the three who pass through your life, but walk through them while keeping the gentle fragrance of heaven intact. Lasting freedom does not come from knowledge alone, but from how you order your days by the rhythm of peace, fencing the garden of your soul and keeping the flame of kindness alive in your gaze. Therefore, each morning while the city still slumbers, stand in your quiet corner, place your hand over your heart, and breathe slowly. Call peace by name at dawn, for peace, when invited, remembers the way to dwell. Whisper simply, Lord, let your peace rule in my heart today. Then hold a small intention within your mind. What boundary will you guard today? And how will you nurture gentleness as a gardener plants a slender stake for a vine to climb and grow? At midday, when work crowds in and messages pull you in many directions, practice a sacred pause like a dewdrop resting on a leaf before it falls. Do not rush to respond when your heart is unsettled. Do not promise when your breath is short. Give yourself the right to move slowly, I'll reply after I have prayed and reflected. That moment is not avoidance, it is reverence for your soul. Ask quietly, after this encounter, does peace within me expand or shrink? Does this invitation draw me away from the circle of steady trust? Must I lose part of my true self to be accepted? When peace answers softly, but clearly, do not argue with it. True peace does not shout to be believed. It simply stands there, gentle, unyielding. As evening falls and the sunlight softens, walk again through the garden of your day like one treading lightly among tender shoots. Recall where your heart expanded, where it contracted, and name these movements before me. Do not judge yourself. Do not deny what you feel. Simply return earth to earth, dew to dew, until the soil of your soul reveals both what must be sheltered and what only needs light and time. In that honesty, the mist withdraws and peace finds its dwelling once more. My beloved child, if the three shadows have drawn very near, do not be afraid. Boundaries can be spoken with clear words and a gentle tone. To the honeyed voice that tries to pull you away from steadfast love, you can say that you appreciate the concern, but will not make decisions while emotions run high. You need time to pray and to consult with faithful companions. To the rigid rule that turns discipline into chains, you can express gratitude for the suggestions but decline any commitment that would silence your conscience. You need more time to discern. And to the half-truth that loves to bend the mirror, you can return the story to the light. Do not speak about the absent. If something must be addressed, meet when all parties are present, so that clarity remains for everyone. Gentle clarity does not wage war, it simply changes the climate of the conversation. In that climate, what is right grows strong, while what is wrong is starved of air and reveals itself. At times you fear such words might offend. My child, gentle clarity may expose true intentions. Those who come from me will respect your boundaries and slow their pace with you. Those who seek control will increase pressure the moment you speak calmly. In that moment, you receive a signal of discernment more precious than argument. True love needs neither secrecy nor speed nor shackles. It delights in light, unhurried rhythm and freedom. When your heart is confused, whisper a short prayer like a bright blade. Set your peace as the umpire in my heart. Unveil what is hidden, soften what is hard, heal what is distorted. Make me gentle without being weak, clear without being harsh, strong without being coarse. That brief prayer changes the air of the inner room. Your shoulders open, your jaw softens, your breath returns. And when the body stops bracing and the soul stops resisting, peace begins to speak. Do not be ashamed if you have gone too far. There is no cliff deeper than my saving arm. The journey home does not start with a grand slogan, but with the smallest truth you dare speak today. A safe phone call, one kind act toward yourself, a tender line of scripture laid like silk upon a fevered brow. Hope is not a slippery feeling. Hope is a series of repeated actions until your spiritual muscles remember the path. From the porch of these very small deeds, you will see the horizon again. If you wonder about justice, rest easy at times. I will tell you to speak. At times I will ask you to withdraw. At times I will teach you to entrust the matter to those in authority. The sign that the time is right is steady peace. The sign that the time has not yet come is restlessness and bitterness. Close the door to bitterness with forgiveness so your heart may be healed, but do not open the door for harm to return. Forgiveness heals the heart, while boundaries keep the bones intact. And in all things, do not lose your kindness. Discernment does not require permanent labels. Some walk in the shadows today who may return to the light tomorrow. You set boundaries to preserve dignity, yours and theirs. Speak truth without humiliation. Step back without cursing. Such an attitude keeps your heart soft, so that when I open a door of healing, you are warm enough to walk through it. Write this upon the inside cover of your notebook. You already have enough. You have the compass of peace, the language of boundaries, the embrace of community, and a daily liturgy that keeps your inner soil green. Do not wait for perfection to begin. Today is already a beginning. From now on, when the three figures pass by, sweetness that separates rigidity, that petrifies half-truth, that distorts you will not panic. You will breathe. You will name what is happening. You will bring every interaction back into shared light and an unhurried pace, and then choose the next small right step. Each time you do, the sky within you grows a little higher. I am here to your left and your right, before you and behind you, above you like a vault of sky, beneath you like solid ground, and within you like a small unquenchable flame. That peace will stand at the morning gate, steady you at midday, and cover you like a blanket at dusk. From that foundation you will be ready to step into what comes next, where together we will meet the first face and lay protective stones along the path of dialogue, so that honeyed words know to stop before the gate of peace. My beloved child, I now bring you to the threshold where the first person will arrive, the one carrying the scent of honey and the gaze that can warm the frozen places in a heart long weathered by harsh winds. They will not enter with hurried footsteps, but with a calm presence like background music quietly changing the light in a room. They know how to name the desires you thought you had buried, how to ask a gentle question so that an old wound seems to ache less, how to smile at just the right moment so that the weary ramparts within you lower like windows opening to the evening breeze. I see your surprise at the sudden harmony, your relief that at last someone seems to see through the fog of many days, touching the true part of you and saying, I understand. I do not fault you for this feeling. Anyone before an oasis longs for a drink. But I want you to sit with me calm as one crouching by a spring, to look closely at the clear surface and ask, does this water flow from a deep source, or is it only a puddle left by a passing rain? This person will speak of the future as though they have walked the circle of the horizon and gathered its finest rays to set in your hands. They will show you a picture painted in hopeful hues, where you are heard cherished and set in the right place amid a crooked world. I do not deny that some of their words are as wholesome as medicine. I only ask you to attend to how this picture is assembled. If one day you notice the faces of those who have long walked with you turning gray in your memory, good memories reinterpreted as burdens and steady bonds placed beneath a soft light of suspicion, then stop and take a deep breath. For sometimes the one they praise most is you, and what they seek to remove from your hands is the circle of community that has held you through barren seasons. Their sweetness is not entirely false. It is like silk cloth laid over a hidden blade, not to wound at once, but to coax you from the safe shore, inviting you into a boat that drifts just far enough from land for the call to return to fade. My child, I know the weariness within you, the fatigue of one who has always been the strong one, the shoulder others lean on, the heartbeat that keeps a circle of love alive. The first will see that exact place and say it is time for you to be cared for, placed at the center, chosen. Those words are not wrong. I too want you to be cared for, centered, and chosen. Yet I will never exchange that gift for the price of isolation. Healthy love expands the heart until you see others through warmer eyes. Dangerous attraction narrows your sight until you want to fold yourself into a single sweet bond where every other connection becomes noise. Remember this: the kind of love that comes from me does not fear shared light. It does not need secrecy to survive haste, to take root, or lock doors to prove intimacy. When you must hide what you are building from the safest people in your life, let that be your first bell of warning. When you are loved in a way that demands silence, peace within you will shrink like a dying lamp. In that moment, I will touch your shoulder gently to remind you that flickering light is a signal, not a flaw. This person will call you special, and you truly are special in my eyes. But let me ask you, when they praise you, do you feel an urge to withdraw and guard the exclusivity of being understood? When they tell a story so beautiful about the two of you, does it remain beautiful when carried into the company of those who lifted you out of past valleys? If a good thing cannot stand under the gaze of kind eyes, perhaps it was not made to grow but to possess. Love does not need to push others down to lift one person up. Love is a space wide enough for everyone to breathe. When they ask about your friends, mentors, or community, listen not only to their words but to their effect on your heart. Do you feel yourself wanting to cancel calls, postpone gatherings that nourish you, cut away healthy ties as though they intrude on a newfound intimacy? If so, do not condemn yourself. Simply place a hand over your chest and whisper peace's name. True peace does not compete with old embraces. It teaches those arms to open wider to receive new joy. I do not teach you to doubt, I teach you to see. See as one who sets a glass of water beneath sunlight and watches the dust appear when light passes through. That person may be sincere in many ways. I do not deny it. But sincerity is not enough if the direction of the relationship makes your heart shrink from those who once upheld you, if the inner voice I placed in you stirs like a small bird fluttering in your chest. There will be nights when your breath feels caught, halfway afternoons when you leave an encounter feeling as though you have paid an unnamed debt, though no one mentioned any debt at all. These are fragile signals, yet they are the language of the soul when it tries to speak the unspoken. Be honest with that language. Do not silence it when it is trying to save you. They will press for quick decisions in matters that need time to take root. They will praise instinct, boldness, and the leap. I do not oppose instinct or courage or leaps. I only remind you that no seed can skip its season. Anything that blooms too soon lacks nourishment from its roots, and when the sun climbs high, it withers faster than you expect. Love that is real can endure slow rhythms, silence, and the act of placing your shared story within a circle of safe witnesses. If they rush to fill the space when you need a day to pray, if they grow uneasy or offended when you bring matters before trusted companions, take it as a yellow light. The yellow light does not demand you stop abruptly. It invites you to slow down, hold the wheel straight, and let things reveal their true form. I know you fear closing yourself so tightly that you might miss something good, so I give you a simple sign: what is truly good endures. It does not fade when you move slowly, does not lose flavor when placed under shared light, does not wilt when questioned. It allows you to breathe deeper rather than hold your breath in fear of loss. It opens your shoulders, steadies your step, thickens your sleep. But attraction born of craving to possess will make you fragile before jealousy, restless before silence, and anxious before imagined threats. You will find yourself striving to prove rather than resting in acceptance, measuring rather than resting in peace. When that happens, blame no one, simply return to me. I will not ask why you trusted or opened the door. I will only ask what you wish to keep and what you wish to release. I am always ready to help lift the heavy door, as long as you choose to let it fall from your hand. You will know them by their fruit. That old saying still settles softly as morning dew on the leaves. I place it in your heart not as a slogan of judgment, but as a gentle reminder: the fruit of a bond is not only sweet moments, but the enduring peace that follows. If after each meeting your mind is clearer, your heart wider, your mercy deeper, it is a good sign. If after each encounter you long to live more honestly, love more fully, forgive more easily, it is a good sign. But if after the charming smiles you quietly withdraw your shoulders, tighten your journal closes for fear someone might read it, you are trading too much for something that was meant to make you free. Freedom is not a sealed room labeled private. It is a house with open windows through which good wind may pass. Let me tell you the most important truth of this part. I do not come to make you fear this person. I come to free you from the power of enchanted emotion. When you pause for one heartbeat before sweetness, you are not turning cold. You are returning the inner room to its natural light. When you dare to bring your story into shared brightness, you are not profaning what is sacred. You are giving the sacred a chance to prove its strength. When you speak slowly, truthfully, gently, your boundaries are not walls. They are frames that hold the picture of love steady against the wall of time. Rest here a while as one who sits on the steps after rain, listening to the last drops slide down the roof. Lay the story forming between you and this person on your palm, hand it to me, and let the peace I give, not as the world gives, settle upon it like evening light on a river. When the water grows still, you will see the sky reflected. And without striving, you will know what belongs to the light will remain, and what borrows light will quietly drift away. I am here guarding the door of your heart with an unwearying smile, so that when you open it, only what is good will be welcomed in. My beloved child, now I lead you into the most delicate passage, how to keep your heart open to what is good, yet not carried away by gentle enchantment. You need not wear armor to avoid pain. You only need a slow enough step for peace to speak. That slowness is not weakness or hesitation. It is the wisdom of the seed that honors its season. When the bearer of honey invites you to run, choose instead to walk. When they try to stretch conversation into a straight line, gently bend it into a curve, shaded with quiet where silence can enter as a friend. My child, I know the feeling of being seen can make your heart fling open every window. That feeling is not wrong. It is the soul's rightful longing. Yet the best window is the one that knows how to close when the wind changes direction. When you receive a word of praise, you may smile without rushing to believe every implication that follows. Let the warmth pass through you like morning sunlight, soft, fleeting, and keep only what still stands when you set it before the eyes of those who have seen you through your rainy days. What comes from me is never afraid to be brought out of the private room. It thrives in the open air under the shared sky. Everything exposed to the light becomes visible. That ancient word remains new today, not to accuse, but to free you from the fear of loss. You will ask me, how can one set a boundary without wounding the tender sprout of something new? I will teach you a language that is gentle, yet clear. You can say you value their presence and warm regard, but you wish to let this grow with time, prayer, and the consent of the wise hearts around you. You can say you are not in a hurry to name anything until both have enough silence to hear their own breathing. When you speak this way, you are not breaking the sprout. You are nurturing it, giving its roots a chance to go deep, so that when the sun is fierce, its leaves will remain green. If that person is truly from me, they will smile and wait. If they are here to possess, they will grow uneasy at the pause, and that unease itself will show you their reflection more clearly. There will be moments when you leave a meeting, and your heart feels light, as if you have set down an invisible burden, and there will be other times when you walk away carrying a small bag of stones. The heavy feeling does not need to be explained immediately. It only needs to be acknowledged. Place your hand upon your chest and breathe. Name that heaviness as you would name a passing cloud. Once named, the cloud begins to move. Then tell it to someone safe, someone who knew your voice before the honey arrived. They need not say much. One steady look from them will remind you of your own posture. I dwell in that look, for I often come through the quiet faithfulness of the steadfast. Do not fear if you have promised too quickly. Promises can be set back upon the table gently, like glass returned to its rightful shelf. Speak truthfully, that you need to review the pace, that you want peace to decide, that you are learning to listen more deeply. Truth spoken with a calm voice will always find its seat. If the other person reacts with a storm, you need not argue. Thunder reveals itself through its own noise. Keep your breath steady, like a rower holding rhythm when the water shakes. The wind will pass and you will still be in the boat with me, seeing the shore not far away. Sometimes the hardest thing is not refusing the sweetness, but refusing the loneliness that longs to use sweetness as anesthesia. I understand solitude well enough not to belittle it with shallow words, but I also know how to heal it at its root, not by sending someone to fill every gap, but by teaching you to accept that gap as a beautiful part of life, so that I might dwell there with you. When the emptiness is received as a gift, you no longer rush to give it away to anyone who knocks with warm promises. When you can sit in a quiet room and still feel warmth on your shoulder, you will know you have built an inner home. From that home, every encounter will thirst less and demand less. I also want you to discern between a promise and an invitation. My promises come with gentle responsibility and a steady rhythm you can trust. My invitations open a space where you may choose freely and safely. But the hasty promises of honey often push you down a narrow road where every turn leads back to one destination, the illusion of destiny. True destiny needs no advertisement. It is revealed in time by the fruit of peace, the growth of kindness, and the increase of patience. When you find yourself becoming smaller, quicker to jealousy, more suspicious, ask the simple question, where is my peace? If peace is standing outside the door, let it in first, then welcome your guest. If you have slipped into the habit of constant messages and early intimacy, I do not condemn you. You only need to change the rhythm a day without immediate replies, an afternoon with your journal writing what your heart truly feels, a conversation that includes those you trust. Change the rhythm by placing your story in a space larger than the narrow us so both can breathe. When the rhythm changes, what is healthy will stay. What needs speed to survive will fade. You may fear that slowing down will cost you something precious. I promise you, what is precious from me will never fall from your hands because you paused to pray. What slips away are the things that had no roots, the flickers that only glimmered on the surface. Imagine yourself standing by a river, letting something small fall into the water to see whether it sinks or floats. Truth is heavy enough to reach the bottom, anchoring the calm surface. Falsehood is light and drifts away with dry leaves. You need not chase it. The current will do the rest. Learn this too, even good words can become bait when they cause you to forget your own voice. So after each encounter, ask quietly, did I say what I truly mean, or did I borrow their language to preserve the pleasant air? True harmony does not demand silence. It asks for honesty spoken kindly. When you dare to speak truth in a gentle tone, you protect both sides, your own dignity and the relationship itself, from swelling beyond the strength of its foundation. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. That word does not promise a path without waves. It promises an anchor that will not break. When you hear it as wind through the trees, you will know you can open the door to affection, to tenderness, to radiant conversation, and still keep the anchor deep beneath the water. Those who come from me will see that anchor and respect it. They will help you tie the rope tighter, not cut it loose. But those who wish to cut the line so the boat can drift freely on emotion, they are not seeking a harbor for you. They are seeking a voyage for themselves. Now relax your shoulders and breathe. Let the sweet words that have passed become birds chirping once and flying off the roof. Keep only what still glows when placed in the open before the gentle faces who love you well. Believe that I guard the doorway of your heart, not to keep gifts out, but to ensure that every gift entering your home flows from a true spring. When the source is true, the taste endures. And when the taste endures, you will see that what once seemed fragile is in truth a great tree casting shade through the long summer. I will walk with you through the rest of this story, through the moment when sweetness is weighed on the scales, when good memories regain their honored place, and when you learn to say thank you without giving away the house key. From there we will go on to the second visitor, that you may see the difference between healing discipline and controlling rigidity. But for now, it is enough that your heartbeat is steady again. Peace always knows its way home. And I, as always, am sitting here, my hand on your shoulder, waiting for your nod. My beloved child, we have stood at the edge of gentle enchantment, touched the underside of shining promises, and heard your heart exhale between dusk and dawn. Now it is time to set the cup of honey on the windowsill and draw the curtains wide for light not to judge but to see. Light does not destroy sweetness. It only restores it to its true source, so you may know what flows from deep springs and what lingers briefly after rain. Sit with me now like old friends, with only a cup of water, a piece of bread, and enough silence for truth to rise and walk freely through the room. My child, I want you to name your wholesome memories first, like someone who wipes the dust from a picture frame and sets it back in its rightful place on the shelf. Remember the faces that walked with you through drought seasons, the voices that did not know how to flatter with fancy words, yet knew how to remain through fevers. Remember the way you carry yourself when no one is watching, the sound of your laughter when there is nothing to boast about. These things are house roof foundation. When you return home to being home, what comes next will have a place to stand without having to topple what was already built. If the bearer of sweetness truly comes from me, they will smile at your old photographs. They will ask the names of those in the frames and bless the very ground that raised you. But if their face dims when you speak of your loved ones, listening to the small latch in your heart click softly, that is not rejection. It is the motion of keeping house. Perhaps you have already given away a few keys, opened a few drawers too soon. I do not come to blame. I come to help you gather what must be gathered, lock what must be locked, and hang a small sign upon the porch. Please knock. Asking for the key's return is not warfare. It is your way of teaching others how to love you rightly. You may speak in a warm tone that you want whatever is budding between you to grow in shared light at an unhurried pace with the consent of peace. If the closeness of late has left you short of breath, confess your weariness to yourself first, then tell me. Truth once placed on the table with a calm voice finds its own position. It does not push anyone over. It merely invites everything back to its proper size. There are sweetnesses that are not wrong, only rootless. They need silence to settle, time to clarify, and space to be tested. I will lay my hand upon your daily rhythm and turn the speed down, fewer messages that demand instant replies, fewer meetings of just the two of you. More evenings among gentle faces, more solitary walks where the wind knows how to keep a secret. In that climate, what is good will breathe steadily, while whatever survives only on urgency will reveal itself by wilting. You do not need to force anyone out of the story. You need only open the windows. The chill of haste will withdraw, and whatever has true sap will stay warm. You ask me if they slacken, go quiet, or grow resentful when you change the pace. Have you lost a chance? My child, an opportunity from me does not slip through your fingers simply because you prayed more carefully. What departs is what once stood upon your shoulders to see its own sky, not what stood beside you to behold a shared horizon. Do not clutch a kite that has already severed its string for fear of empty hands. Empty hands make room for peace to take hold again. When peace returns to its place as host, it will rearrange the chairs in the parlor, clear away a few fussy decorations, and put on music soft but just right. You will notice yourself breathing deeply without trying, sleeping fully without uneasy dreams. This is the sign that the house within has found the right switch for the lights. I also want you to learn how to say thank you without handing over authority. You may honor this person for words that warmed an afternoon, for the way they helped you glimpse a gentle hidden corner of your heart, and then place your hands together and say, "Let's allow this to grow in the ordinary rhythm of light." Such a thank you neither shuts the door nor hands over the keys. It invites beauty to remain at its rightful size. If that beauty belongs to the long road, it will flourish because it has been rightly placed. If it is only a passerby, it will smile, wave, and leave without demanding to carry off your belongings. There may come a day when you stand in the middle of the room and ask, "Why does my heart feel light and sad at once?" Let me translate that sadness. It is the sorrow of one who has just awoken from a gentle enchantment, who has just returned a borrowed item, who has grown one more year in the soul. This grief is not poisonous. It is like a lingering fragrance after guests have gone. Open the window. Make tea. Let the sunlight do what sunlight does. In a few days, the scent will fade, and you will remember that you matured by a quiet that does not boast. You once feared that if you didn't cling to the feeling of being uniquely understood, you would return to the old loneliness. But as a child, the old loneliness is not what it was. I have touched it. It now has a chair by the window and a light blanket. When loneliness is treated as an honored guest, it no longer overturns furniture. It sips tea, watches clouds, and keeps still. From that stillness you will hear the small sounds of life: a cup touching a saucer, a leaf brushing a wall, clothes shifting in the wooden wardrobe. These little sounds are proof your house is still breathing. You do not need loud music to believe you are alive. If the bearer of sweetness returns with a different pace, slower, clearer, honoring boundaries, speaking the names of your community with respect, open the door with a gentle smile. Not because you are easy to please, but because you trust the power of light. But if they come only to ask why the room is no longer as it was, why the windows stand too wide, why their favorite chair has moved, you may point to the sun and say, "This house was made to welcome daylight." Then see them to the door with a blessing as a host trained in the courtesies of peace. Blessing is the best way to free yourself. Where blessing flows, bitterness cannot remain. I will place a scripture slip softly at the table's edge, like a note. You notice each time you pass. You will know them by their fruit. Do not carry this saying like a knife. Carry it like a comb for tangled hair. Whenever your mind knots up with sweet memories and doubts, comb slowly. Did peace thicken? After the meeting, did kindness grow warmer? Did inner freedom widen if these three strands, smooth out, proceed? If they still snag, don't yank. Untie each knot with patience. Truth has endurance. It is not afraid of your slowness. When night comes and before you close your eyes, you may whisper to me, "Today I lifted the cup of honey into the daylight, and I saw its inside." I will smile and answer, "Well done." Then I will blow out the small lamp upon the shelf, leaving you the safe darkness of sleep. In that darkness, fear has no room, for peace keeps watch at the door. By morning, you will discover something simple and precious. You have learned how to hold the cup. When you know how to hold it, you no longer fear sweetness. When you no longer fear sweetness, you no longer chase it. You become as free as someone walking through a market without needing to buy everything beautiful they see. So the tale of the first person closes within a room now clean and airy. Nothing is shattered, no one shamed, no word turned into a scar. There is simply an inner house put back in order, a window flung wide, a table cleared to welcome what endures. From here, you and I will step across the next threshold, where the one in formal attire waits. There you will see the difference between discipline that bears fruit and control that turns to stone. You will see how mercy softens sharp corners and why true holiness always carries the scent of freedom. But before we go, stand a moment longer on this sill. Breathe deep. Behold the sky restored to blue. The sky that, like the peace I place within you, is unhurried, quiet, and vast. I am here, my hand upon your shoulder, stepping forward with you. My child, I now lead you into the corridor where the second person stands, waiting, jacket pressed, tie straight voice, setting each word as if driving a nail into wood. They do not arrive with honey's aroma, but with the fresh paint smell of rules, recently lacquered, shiny, tight, impressively smooth. Beside them, everything seems more orderly. A crooked chair is pulled square, a cloth folded into a perfect rectangle. You feel lighter at the sight of such an order, like one lost in the market who suddenly finds a street with clean white lines. And I understand why you want to follow. You are tired of chaos worn by the swell and crash of emotions. This dignified figure, with a clear schedule and the words must, should, and must not, looks like a seawall that can hold back the flood. I do not fault you for that sigh of relief. Order is a gift. Discipline is a grace. But when a gift becomes a rope and grace turns to a whip, the soul quietly loses its air. My beloved child, the one before you will speak of ladders to climb, checkpoints to pass, standards to reach before you are worthy to stand present. They will describe goodness as a multiple choice test with only one correct mark, and your task, they say, is to circle the right answer without flaw, without doubt. At first, that order feels like safety, no crossroads, no questions, only one straight road toward a fixed line. Yet, in the late hours, as the clock ticks evenly, something inside you starts to shrink. The smile narrows, the breath shortens, as if afraid to waste the air. Rightness grows more precise each day, while the heart thins like a leaf. You wonder where you went wrong, and their answer, as always, is, tighten a little more. Sit down, my child, and look closely at the thin line between discipline and control. Healthy discipline is the gardener pruning in season, removing dry branches so sunlight can reach, making space for tender shoots. It strengthens the tree without robbing its scent. Control cuts out of fear. Trembling hands mistake weeds for flowers and strip the ground bare. When discipline comes from me, you stand upright without strain. When control dresses itself as holiness, you stiffen like a stake in the sun, and shade disappears. Remember what was written, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. That word is not to abolish standards, but to bring them under the warmth of the heart. When you obey through love, your shoulders loosen and your eyes glow. When you obey through fear of losing, rank your brow hardens, your hands go cold. I do not measure you by forms, I touch you by warmth. True holiness smells like wet grass after rain, not like bleach. I know their power, the persuasion of the one who knows the way. They stand at the pulpit speaking in perfect lines, citing reasons for every prohibition, recounting stories of those who fell from loosened grip. You listen and feel indebted to their safety. Soon you mimic their tone, inspect yourself as they inspect, label others as they label to keep your fences from shaking. Yet each label makes something in your heart flinch like a child snapping a still green stem. Labels may classify, but only love helps life grow. If any rightness leaves you less gentle than yesterday, less patient with yourself or with another, that rightness has lost its home. I did not call you to be a warden of souls. I called you to be a keeper of gardens. When this person enters your space, they will want to rearrange it. They'll point to the soft chair you read in and say it's bad for your spine. They'll suggest putting the guitar away to avoid dust. They'll recommend fewer photos of friends to avoid distraction. None of these advices are entirely wrong, but when every warm corner gets replaced by symmetry, the room becomes too sterile, too flat, and your echo sounds like someone else's. I am not against order. I just don't want you trading human warmth for geometric harmony. A home must be livable, not just photographable. Faith is the same. It must breathe, listen, and let the wind of freedom run through its fields. Every wall built for safety must eventually learn to open its gate. I see you asking permission to smile, permission to be silent, permission to sleep late on a rainy morning. You feel guilty for enjoying a song not on the approved list, uneasy when your prayer drifts off the set form. You begin to equate being loved with meeting standards and meeting standards with never enough. In that logic, you will run forever because the finish line keeps moving. My love does not set you on a conveyor belt. I come like a father walking slowly beside a child learning to walk. Each wobbling step is delight, not evidence against you. I teach you discipline so you can frame beauty better, not so you fear the brush in your hand. You ask, how can I escape this invisible prison and still love clarity? I smile and remind you, the key has always been in your pocket. It is the peace you learned from the first lesson. You need not break walls. You need only open doors. You need not debate. You need only speak truth with a kind voice. I choose a rhythm that leaves room for mercy. I choose discipline that never sells dignity. I choose to honor my boundaries as I honor others. When you say such things, they may frown, they may step back half a pace. But you have lit the lamp, and once light is there, it will do its work. I do not tell you to reject every warning. Some fences save lives. Some no's keep the heart from drowning. I only teach you to discern the voice of life from the voice of disguised fear. The voice of life makes you expand, want to love more, tie another shoe, open the window to fresh air. The voice of fear makes you stiffen, want to control score and grade, build high walls and count your own shadow. When the voice of life speaks, your shoulders drop. When the other speaks, your chin lifts without you knowing. The body is an honest friend. Learn to listen. And remember, I do not come to compete for you against that person, but to return you to your original breath. If they can lay down the shears and relearn tenderness, your door will remain open to their kindness. But if they only wish to measure you daily to ensure you fit the box, you may step into the grass, sit beneath the tree, let the wind comb your hair, and peace wash the chalk dust of grades from your eyes. I will sit beside you, toss a pebble into the lake, and watch the circles widen. On that clear surface, you will see your reflection not painted with excellence, not masked by perfection, but simply you warm enough to love, free enough to grow. And so, my child, you begin to open the second door of this hallway, not to run, but to walk unhurried beneath the tender light of mercy. My beloved child, to walk through the shadows of dogma without losing your gentleness, you must learn again how to breathe beneath the sky of mercy. I want you to remember your first breath unhurried, unashamed, not striving to please any watching eyes beyond the window. That rhythm is still within you like an underground spring running through stone. All it needs is a stick placed rightly, and it will burst forth as well. The one who wears the robe of rigidity likes to place a stethoscope on your chest to count beats, but peace is not measured by a quickened pulse. Peace reveals itself when the shoulders open, the gaze softens, and the whisper of conscience is heard. When you find that rhythm again, rightness ceases to be a nail driven into wood. It becomes sap flowing through branches. I see you waking some mornings as though called by roll before dawn. Your first act is no longer to smile at the sun, but to check whether you've failed any item in the long list of musts and must-nots. Under such pressure, prayer turns into a drill, and silence becomes a frightening gap. You start fearing the spontaneity of kindness, the laughter that bursts without permission, the tears that arrive unplanned during a hymn. You tighten yourself so as not to trouble anyone, and at day's end you realize you have only troubled your own soul. I touch your forehead and say you are not a project to be inspected. You are a person to be loved. When love stands in its proper place, discipline finds back its tender face. Healing discipline does not place a clock upon the altar. It knows when to act and when to rest, when to speak and when to stay still, when to rise and when to sit and cry a little until your eyes clear. It teaches you to keep your word, but also to apologize when your word no longer walks with truth. It teaches you to wash your hands before a meal, but never to starve yourself when the storm is coming. It knows the body is a friend, not a mechanism. It knows the soul has seasons, not assembly lines. When you live in that rhythm, something wondrous happens. You become more precise yet kinder, clearer yet less judgmental, stronger yet less rigid. You begin to understand that I desire mercy, not sacrifice, is not a license for laziness, but the key that opens the storehouse of right motivation. When mercy waters the roots, discipline greens itself. That person will want to adjust your tone, correct your posture, rearrange your shelves, insisting that peace lives only in one design. I smile, for peace does not fear order, but neither does it bind itself to a single mold. Peace is like wind, cool in tiled halls, fragrant in gardens, warm in wooden houses. When they insist that every other door opens only to chaos, remember how many times you have met me in places far from the syllabus, by a sickbed, on an old bicycle, in a noisy cafe, or during a rainy afternoon when you asked for nothing but my presence. Then you will see that holiness is not geometric precision. It is light passing through every shape, softening every edge, making the room habitable, not merely photographable. What exhausts you is not right or wrong, it is the feeling of never enough. That feeling makes you run, but on a treadmill the scenery changes, yet your feet stay in place. I reach out and stop the belt, letting you stand still and look around. You will see your loved ones sitting there on the long bench, unscoring, simply waiting for you to breathe. You will see me placing the teapot on the table, nodding that today the best thing you can do is sit and let your heart return to its natural rhythm. From that rhythm, your duties will sort themselves in order. What must be done will be done. What can wait will wait, like a gardener, delaying pruning until the sun returns, lest wet branches break. I know you fear that loosening means collapse, but a house falls only when built upon fear. When the foundation is love, a gentle looseness keeps the walls from cracking. Practice a new sentence, not rebellious, not submissive. I value clarity, but I will not sign what silences my conscience. I choose a rhythm with room for mercy. That line is not a slogan to win an argument. It is a doorway opening to a meadow. There you will find yourself again, the one who can admit wrong without self-hate and correct errors without self-blame, keep promises without losing laughter. If they do not understand, do not turn them into enemies. Perhaps they too fear chaos and have hidden inside thick walls. Perhaps they once fell into a pit and now trust only fences. When you look at them with understanding, your boundaries stand firm without spikes. Gentle boundaries reveal intentions. Those who come to live will learn to open the gate. Those who come to control will go seek another fortress. Either way, your home's climate remains steady, bright, airy, filled with the sound of water, the scent of fresh bread, and enough quiet for truth to enter without embarrassment. On days when you slip back into old reflexes, I do not mark faults. I remind. Pause for a moment, place your hand on your chest, and name what is making you shrink. Once named, it becomes small. Then say to me the short prayer we practiced. Let peace be the umpire. Make me gentle but not weak, clear but not harsh, strong but not crude. That phrase is your compass under fog. It doesn't tear the mist, it simply shows direction. You'll find yourself less inclined to control, to prove to win, and more inclined to listen, to mend, to love rightly. That is the sign that discipline has returned to its first vocation, to guard what lives, not to suppress it. Soon, when you stand before the mirror, you will see the change, eyes bright, not from vigilance, but from kindness, shoulders lowered not from defeat, but from trust. You will do the same things, tidy rooms, work, pray, serve, but the climate inside will be different. No overseer perched above, only a father walking slowly beside you, sometimes placing a hand on your back to steady your pace, sometimes smiling softly at a small and lovely mistake. And when you meet another soul caught in the collar of not enough, you will know how to unlock it without scraping the neck. Let the ending of this passage be simple as breath. You do not have to choose between order and freedom. You are invited to choose discipline with mercy, the kind that closes the door when harsh winds blow and flings the windows wide when morning enters. From that meeting point, you will step into the next part, where I will show you how to leave invisible prisons through gentle acts, slowing one pace, placing truth in the light, and handing fear to me as the potter hands clay to his wheel. When clay is wet and shaped in love, it becomes a vessel, not a brick, and vessels hold water for the thirsty to drink, not for walls to be built. My beloved child, the road with the one who wore the robe of rigid order does not end in an argument of right or wrong. It closes in a room restored to its natural breath. Picture the morning after a storm, the window open, the scent of damp wood, fading curtains, relaxed sunlight, not piercing, but resting gently upon the table. That stillness is not born from rules vanishing, but from rules returning to their rightful place, as frames for a painting, not walls that seal the room. When discipline returns to mercy, it stops demanding that you be enough to be loved. It becomes the steady hand that helps love take its most beautiful form. You have heard enough musts that tightened your chest. Now hear my voice inviting you to loosen a button. I have watched you try so hard to be correct that you forgot life was made for love. Now let love warm your hands before every task. When you hold the pen to write a promise, remember that your hand writes not to prove but to give. When you kneel, remember those knees bend not to meet a quota but to rest upon a shoulder that never condemns. I do not count your bows. I listen to how far your heart opens. Strangely, the moment you stop counting, you become more faithful. The moment you stop policing yourself, you begin to guard yourself naturally, for your motive shifts from fear of losing to cherishing what is blooming. I want you to learn a new posture, not bowed by shame, not puffed by defense, but straight enough for the breeze to touch your shoulders. They may still ask why you're not as zealous as before. Smile and tell them you are more zealous, only now you've changed the fuel. You no longer run on pressure, you walk on peace. You no longer act to finish, you act in rhythm. And if they do not understand, keep your tone gentle, for gentleness is not weakness. It is strength that chooses not to wound. You now know when to pause, because conscience has been pushed aside when to move, because mercy calls and when to stay silent, because truth needs space to grow. At that rhythm you'll discover something vital. True holiness makes people kinder, not harsher. There will be days you catch yourself repeating the controller's voice inside your own inner house. You'll hear it whisper, "Pray longer, work harder, be stricter, otherwise you're unworthy." When you hear that, place your hand on your chest and move that voice to the guest's chair. Reserve the host's chair for peace. Peace doesn't talk much. It simply sits absorbing echoes. Then remember my earlier comfort. My yoke is easy, my burden light, not because I am lenient, but because I walk with you. When you walk beside me, heavy things remain heavy, but they no longer crush. Difficult things remain difficult, but they no longer drain. Burdens become endurance training. Discipline becomes the needle stitching torn edges of the day, not the whip striking bruised skin. You'll also notice a shift in how you face your mistakes. Before, each slip sent you spiraling into self-blame. Now you'll return faster, naming what happened, apologizing if needed, and moving on. That quickness isn't irreverence toward sin, it is reverence toward grace. When you stop nailing yourself to yesterday, you give forgiveness space to do its full work, not only erasing guilt, but healing nerves frayed by fear. From there, you'll learn to correct without self-destruction, to keep promises without strangling joy, to teach without venting anger. I do not ask for perfect children. I desire children who love purely. And real love always includes relearning, redoing, beginning again many times, until your hands grow soft, like good soil under rain. You've learned the rhythm of clear, yet kind. Now open another door, the rhythm of slow, yet sure. Don't let anyone else set the pace of your soul's growth. Maturity is not measured by months. It is measured by the ability to keep compassion warm against cold winds. There will be seasons you move swiftly like a harvester before rain, and seasons you only water and wait for roots. Both are obedience when peace keeps time, and you'll be surprised waiting is never wasted. In that silence, you'll learn the language of trees, which way the real sun rises, which water is rainwater, which wind requires bowing to avoid breaking. That language will make you patient with yourself, with others, especially those hiding their vast fear behind thick walls. I do not lead you out of this hallway so you can stand outside and judge. I lead you out so that you may one day return as a bearer of water, not verdicts. If that person knocks again, you can welcome them in, pour a cup of tea, and tell them of the path you found. A path with fences, but open gates, with discipline yet poetry blooming on the windowsill. If they wish to move the chair back, smile and say, "This room has learned to welcome sunlight." If they want to hang new rules, point to the clock you've taken down and say, "Here time now moves with life's rhythm." You guard this atmosphere not by argument, but by the steady confidence of a homeowner who knows what they're keeping. And if they must leave, bless them. Blessing is not indulgence. It is your declaration that you will not let bitterness muddy your home's stream. You may wonder, how will I know I've left the invisible prison? The signs are quiet. You'll find yourself laughing easily at differences, replacing "why are they like that" with "how can I love them well?" You'll read a page, whisper a short prayer, do a small deed, and feel no urge to report it, not even to yourself. You'll sleep deeper, wake lighter, and sit still for 5 minutes midday without guilt. Those small signs are the true doors. They do not creak, but they open. When this door closes, I see you standing at a gentler crossroad, stronger, not because you've added armor, but because you've learned to walk without it. You know how to hang the sword by the doorway and draw it only when needed, how to place a hand on your heart before signing, how to ask for peace before asking the crowd. Your freedom is not "I can do anything." It is "I no longer have to do what silences my conscience." That freedom is the small lamp you'll carry as we enter the next path, where the third figure appears, half-truth in hand mirror, warped bitterness, slow dripping. There you will learn how to keep the stream clear amid whispers that sound harmless, and how to bring every story back into shared light without shaming anyone. But for now, remain a little longer on the threshold you've just crossed. Breathe deeply and thank discipline for being returned to its most beautiful place, the frame of love's picture, not the wall around the heart. I am here, as always, my hand on your back, nodding. Go on slowly, warmly, brightly. My beloved child, after the honey that softened your ramparts and the rigid rule that turned discipline into chains, the third person now enters with footsteps light as a bird's shadow. They do not arrive with radiant laughter or a rulebook hung high. They slip in with a sigh, a compassionate crease, a nod that seems to understand every sorrow of the world. They do not demand your belief. They invite your doubt. They do not pull you to walk away. They merely tilt the mirror before you so the world's image ripples just enough. From that day, you begin to view everyone through a thin, warped pane, and the goodness in others always seems to hide a small fishhook somewhere inside their words. I call them the bearer of half-truth, because what they bring is seldom pure invention. It simply lacks the light required for truth to be whole. They know how to borrow the voice of concern to plant leading questions. I only worry for you. But do you notice A is a bit strange? I don't want to upset you. But B doesn't seem sincere. Those little words only, but are like needles pricking the membrane of trust. Not painful at once, only letting the air slip out. After a few talks, you find yourself quietly shortening the calls that used to warm your heart, postponing the gatherings that once fed your faith, and drawing one more layer of curtain across windows long kept open. You don't cut people off. You simply pull the drapes a shade thicker, and as the light diminishes, gentle corners of the room turn suspect. You tell yourself you're just being more careful, but the peace within you begins to breathe shallowly, like someone on a high plateau not yet used to the air. This person often speaks as a reluctant witness. They happen to hear, they are sorry to say, they only want your eyes open. They hand you scattered pieces and leave you to assemble them into the picture they prefer. The more you fit the pieces, the more the scene becomes a maze, and in that maze, the third person is always the one standing at the exit, lantern in hand. I do not deny that at times they touch something true. I simply ask you to notice the fruit of that truth. Does it lead your heart toward clarity, forbearance, and a desire for reconciliation? Or does it leave a bitterness at the back of your tongue, narrow your eyes, and make vigilance into an occupation? Truth from me liberates. Half-truth feeds suspicion. I see you speaking less with those you love, not to keep a new beauty to yourself, but for fear of being misunderstood. You smile politely, more often nod, at the right moment, yet the laughter within has thinned. You sit among friends as if listening for footsteps pacing across your roof. That is the moment half-truth has found lodging, where trust is not loudly broken, only slowly worn away. Child's slow erosion is the sharpest knife in the hand of one who sows the yeast of bitterness. It does not make you wail, it makes you stop singing. Half-truth likes to borrow old pain as evidence. They pull up a chair, touch the spot once betrayed, and whisper, "I don't want that to happen again." You tremble with memory, and that tremble is used to vote against the healthy bonds you have now. I know where that scar lies. I have laid my hand there many times. I heal with light and time, not with darkness and haste. Old hurt can become a key to the door of discernment when brought into shared light. When it is used as a secret code between two people, it becomes an invisible tether. Test the spirits. The gentle counsel of old was never meant to make you a judge. It was to keep old pain from writing the laws for new love. The bearer of half-truth also prefers the triangulated room, you and them in one corner, the absent person in the other. In that triangle, harmless words can roll downhill and pack into a snowball. You leave the conversation with the feeling I must do something, but the something is always a little more secrecy, a little more waiting, a little more distance. Thus, while you keep the peace, true peace is left outside on the porch. Real peace loves common light. It says, invite the third person and speak face to face. Let the whole truth be present. When the door opens, half-truth grows awkward because it lives on shadows and whispers. You ask me, how can I be gentle without being naive? I say, bring the story into a larger space. When someone begins to pour into your ear matters about one who is absent, you may smile and say, you do not discuss a person who is not here. If there is feedback to give, let's meet together so every heart is honored. When someone asks you to keep a secret about something that belongs to the community, you may answer that you respect privacy, but what shapes shared trust must be placed tenderly in shared light. This is not refusing to love, it is the manner of mature love. Light may make someone blink for a moment, but that very blink returns people to honesty. Perhaps you fear that doing so will offend or lose friends. But any friendship that needs darkness to survive is not friendship, it is collusion. Friendship from me can stand in a bright room, talk slowly, lay things out without shouting, and endure truth without collapse. When you set what you've heard into the light, you are giving the relationship a chance to breathe clean air. If it is weak, it will drift away. If strong, it will grow stronger. You are not exposing anyone. You are opening a window. Good wind will do the rest. Half-truth also loves the part of victimhood that claims special rights to interpret. I only speak because I was hurt, they say, and your compassion opens the door. Give them a seat and a glass of water, but do not hand them the kitchen keys. Compassion heals wounds with listening and boundaries. It does not allow the wound to steer the whole house. When one person's story becomes the only filter through which all others are seen, truth shrinks to a narrow passage. I invite you to listen with a soft heart, but keep your hand on the doorknob. When needed, open to let others enter, not to surround, but to balance. I know a day will come when you drift with that current of suspicion and come home with your chest tight. Do not condemn yourself then. Simply name what occurred. Today I looked through the wavy mirror. Set the mirror down. Step onto the porch and look at the sky. Invite peace to the table. As an old friend, let your peace be the umpire. That short prayer turns the dimmer switch toward day. Then call a safe person and retell the story without seasoning. When truth is spoken slowly, half-truth reveals its hollow seams. If the bearer of half-truth recognizes the light and changes tone, welcome them back with a gentle smile. Anyone can fall into whispering. Everyone needs a door left open for return. But if they grow uncomfortable in shared light, if they insist on hallways where voices must stay small and doors must stay shut, you may escort them to the yard with a blessing. Blessing is how you lock the door against bitterness. In blessing, you do not deny what happened. You simply declare that peace is the host of this house. I lay softly into your palm a slender thread of scripture to wind around your finger when you need to remember. You will know them by their fruit. Fruit here is not the persuasiveness of an argument. It is the climate left after the argument has gone. If the climate is warmer, wider, clearer, continue on. If it cools, narrows, clouds, stop. Do not rush to accusations. Simply change the air, invite more light, invite gentle witnesses, invite silence enough for the sand to settle. Truth has endurance. It does not fear slowness. And now sit quietly long enough to hear your heart return to its familiar rhythm. The third person has been named. The rippled mirror has been set down. You need not fear sweetness, nor law, nor whispers. You already carry a compass of peace, a mercy-wise discipline, and a common light for a roof. With these three, every word, soft, stern, or half-lit, must pass through your kind, steady gate. I sit here, hand on your shoulder, watching so that the yeast of bitterness never falls into your cup. Drink the clear water. The rest, leave it to me to pour upon the ground. My beloved child, now I lead you away from the corridor of whispers across a small sunlit courtyard into the open square where the wind passes freely. Here the story is no longer imprisoned within ears. It rests upon a wooden table among gentle faces where light performs the work of light. Do not fear what will fade under the sun. What belongs to life only shines brighter. Truth does not dazzle, it simply stops trembling. And when truth ceases to tremble, doubt withdraws from the cracks like mist retreating from a porch at noon. I know the habit of half-truths has often made you draw another curtain. Today, learn to open one side first, then the other, like someone relearning how to breathe deeply. Invite the absent to step in, not for confrontation, but so that the story may have all its eyes. Sometimes even an empty chair changes the climate of the room. When that chair is drawn out and the one who should be present takes their place, the unfinished sentences will find their endings naturally. You'll be surprised to see that words no longer need to multiply. Clean air makes every sentence without substance fade away. There you'll rediscover what your heart has always known: to speak the truth. In love is not a feat of eloquence, but the simple gesture of placing a hand on another's shoulder when a hard truth must be said. And once the hand is rightly placed, the words lose their edge. There will be moments when those who once held the rippled mirror will stumble, their old habit of triangulating having lost its ground. Do not rush to celebrate. Victory and defeat are not the rhythms of peace. Keep a steady tone, reminding yourself that true friendship can withstand light, that community is a place where misunderstandings are untied through patience, not divided into sides. You may see tears on their lashes, not the manipulative kind, but the salt tears of one who has lived too long on the fringes of shadow. Hand them a cloth. Healing light does not come from sunbeams on the forehead, but from compassion, finally allowed to flow after years of restraint. When they sigh and remain seated, you will have won the only battle worth winning, the battle against fear. I want you to form a new custom for the house of your heart, a custom of open doors and slow voices. Whenever something involves more than two people, bring it into the common room where every voice may speak fully without interruption or suppression. Try to remember each person's name. Affirm what is good in them before touching what is uneven. To name what is good is not a tactic of appeasement. It is the recognition of solid ground from which what is crooked may grow straight, not break. You'll find that in such an atmosphere, arguments often dissolve without being fought. Silence itself becomes the silt that settles, leaving the water clear. Everything exposed by the light becomes visible. The ancient line echoes not as condemnation, but as the soft sound of a window unlatching to let the breeze in. Some old wounds will insist on attending these gatherings. They come armed with the logic of those who once suffered. Do not drive them away. Seat them closer to the window. When pain is placed near light, its voice softens. It still speaks, but no longer commands. You and those you love will learn to listen to pain without obeying it. That is the moment when power changes hands from bitterness to peace. And once power changes hands, the story no longer tunnels underground. It walks in open air across fields beneath wide skies. There the unnecessary buts fall away like dry leaves along a fence. If along the way you notice you've borrowed a few careless words and dyed them with suspicion, simply stop and pull that thread from the shared fabric. I do not count faults, I count the return of breath. Apologize plainly, as one might place a cup back in its rightful spot. A calm apology carries more strength than any argument. It restores truth's authority without humiliating anyone. You'll feel the air soften and faces relax like earth after rain. Those who once lived on half-truths, if they are willing to stay with the light, will learn a new language, the language of whole stories of us. the language that needs no whispers to feel important. I know, my child, you sometimes fear losing the bonds that once warmed an afternoon. But affection that survives only by secrecy is like straw fire. It burns fast, fades quickly, and leaves a bitter scent. Friendship that comes from me smells like fresh bread, slow-baked, lasting, shared. When you dare to bring a relationship into the lighted room, you invite it to move from straw fire to true hearth. Some will not endure. They will leave like those who prefer the night. Send them away with a blessing, not to appear noble, but to keep your well's water from turning bitter. A blessing is the wooden lid placed gently over the well after a day of strong winds. In that bright room you will also learn to restore honor to faces blurred by whispers. You will call meet and confess that once you looked through a distorted mirror, speak briefly without defense, without forcing tears. Such an apology is a needle mending the tear in the shared cloth. The thread loops joins again, and the garment wears more comfortably. Some will embrace you, others will need time. Both are healings. Healing need not be rushed like a field hospital. It unfolds at the pace of hearts, relearning trust. With every lengthened beat, the community gains another fiber of strength. I do not promise that every rippled mirror will vanish, but I promise that this household will know how to lay the mirror flat upon the table whenever the rattling of suspicion stirs in a drawer. You now have a new ritual. Step onto the porch, open the window, invite others in. Slow your words, place your hand upon your chest, and ask for peace. Practiced often, this ritual will teach your spiritual muscles the path back. One day you will stand among crowds without being swept by their noise. You will know how to step half a pace aside to let the wind pass. You will smile without caution, for in your hand you will always hold the key to the open square. And when evening falls and you sit upon the steps, I will tell you a small but weighty truth. Truth does not need aggression to prevail. It needs endurance to remain. Doubt does not need volume to corrode. It only needs persistence. Therefore, do not seek noisy battles. Choose quiet habits instead. Each time you invite light, you lay a stone on the path for those who follow. Each time you bless, you place another tile upon the shared roof. Blessed are the peacemakers. That blessing belongs not only to negotiators, but to souls who know how to set the mirror down and open the window wide. From here, as we move toward the closing of this chapter, you will notice that the bitterness fades, and even the sweetness of truth becomes gentler. For in the light, every flavor returns to its source, and peace, as always, lingers the longest. My beloved child, you have now walked with me through the corridor of whispers, laid the rippled mirror upon the table, and brought the story into the bright square. Now let it all end with one simple yet decisive gesture. Lock away that mirror in a drawer with a key, and open the porch of your heart wide for the wind to pass through. The true end of half-truth is not a sentence of judgment, but the quiet homecoming of light. Light does not seek to conquer. It seeks to remain. And when light remains, doubt loses its foothold. I want you to remember the inner room after this long afternoon. The chairs set in their places, the frames wiped free of dust, the window open just enough for the rustle of leaves to enter, without the litter. Such order is not formality. It is reverence for stories returned to their rightful owners. From this day on, whenever a rumor stops by your doorstep, receive it as a traveler lost on the road, offer it a sip of water, ask whom it seeks, then point it to the right house. As for your own home, keep it still. Peace sits there like a quiet master at work, sometimes nodding softly, and everything falls into order on its own. My beloved child, I can still hear deep within you the echoes of old nights, the fear of being misunderstood, the habit of studying every glance, every tone of voice. Do not chase that fear away. Bring it out to the porch and let it sit with you on the steps to watch the sunset. When fear sits where there is plenty of light, it loses its power. Stay beside it, listen until it finishes speaking, Then gently place your hand on its shoulder and say, "From now on, we no longer write laws for anyone." That is the moment you will understand why peace is called the umpire, not because it gives penalties, but because it blows the whistle at the right time, so the game stops before it turns into conflict. Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts. That ancient word was never meant to harden you, but to soften you in the right direction. True healing often walks on quiet feet. You'll notice one morning you wake without the urge to check your messages, to measure anyone's affection. At midday, you may suddenly wish to call an old friend, just to hear the innocence in their laughter without suspicion. By evening, you may play an old song and find a tear fall, not from sadness, but from tenderness. These small signs mean the mirror has been locked away, and the key now hangs where you can see it but need not hold it. When the key is no longer in your pocket, your hands are free. Free to lift a cup of tea and welcome back the faces once blurred by fog and mistrust. There will come a day when the one who once held the rippled mirror will knock on your door. They may carry the uncertain look of someone lost after a long maze. Open the door with a gentle smile. Tell them that in this house stories are told in the living room, not whispered in the hallways, that privacy is honored, but anything that touches shared trust belongs beneath the lighted roof. If they wish to stay, bring out another chair. If they only ask why the windows are open so wide, why the air feels different now, point toward the sunlight and say, "This is the new atmosphere. Here, every good thing thrives in the Sunday." That is not an argument. It is an invitation home. Those who choose light will remain. Those who prefer shadows will find another way. Send them off with a blessing, like closing a book without breaking its spine. Blessing does not make you lose. Blessing keeps the water in your well pure. I also want you to restore honor to the connections once covered by mist. A short message, a brief meeting, a simple, sincere apology, that alone is the needle mending the torn seam. Do not fear awkwardness. Awkwardness is the sound of a heart relearning how to pronounce forgotten words: trust, forgiveness, generosity. As you sound them out like a child learning to read, I sit in the front row nodding along, not mocking but proud. I hear each syllable break, then join again. I hear each pause turn to fluency. I hear your breath grow steady. Wherever you think you must tense, I lay my hand and whisper, "You don't have to. Be gentle." In this new life, you will care less about who was right or wrong and more about the climate that remains after each conversation. You will choose words that leave no bitterness, rhythms that make no one lose, breath endings that keep the door open. Truth, when spoken in love, knows where to sit. It doesn't need to stand on the chair to be taller than others. It only needs a chair of its own so it doesn't have to lean on anyone's back. And when you arrange the chairs like that, everyone who enters will know where to place their story, when to lower their voice, and how to smile again. The living room of peace makes people more beautiful because each one sits upright without strain. I know there will be moments when an old wind returns, carrying a few glittering grains of whispered dust. That's all right. Just close one door softly and open the other wide. The dust will leave by its own path. You don't have to chase it. You only have to choose the direction of the wind. In such moments, you may quietly repeat the short prayer we have learned together. May what is hidden be brought to light, what is hard be softened, what is distorted be healed. May I be gentle without being weak, clear without being harsh, strong without being rough. Those few words are a warm cloth laid across your heart, guiding your pulse back to the rhythm of humanity. And soon there will come a day when you stand among those you love and suddenly realize laughter has returned with the depth of those who have wept. Eyes have returned with the warmth of those who once were cold. Hands have returned with the steadiness of those who once trembled. You no longer fear sweetness because you know how to hold the cup. You no longer fear rules because you have placed discipline under mercy. You no longer fear whispers because you have chosen the square of light. These three fears will leave together, and the space they vacate will be filled with a silence alive with birdsong. That silence is not emptiness, it is the space where life unfolds without performance. You ask me, how will you walk from here? I say, like a householder who understands the climate of their own home. You will still welcome guests, still speak, still love, still make mistakes now and then. The difference is that you now carry a compass in your pocket piece and a habit in your hands, bringing all things into the light. With these two, you will not fear losing your way along unmarked paths. You will rest under trees, pour water for strangers, and not fear any gust of wind, for your table is steady. When you see someone still struggling with their crooked mirror, you will know how to invite them in, set the mirror down, open the window, and wait. Waiting is the gesture of faith, and those who believe are free. And so this part ends with the sound of steady breathing. You may hear faintly the quiet marketplace at dusk, the scent of fresh bread from a small bakery on the corner, the soft ringing of an unhurried evening. I place my hand upon your head, and bless you may. Your home always have a wide porch, a bright living room, a warm kitchen, and a door that is firm against the dark, yet hospitable to the day. From that porch we shall move into the next chapter, where you and I will build the architecture of a purposeful love, one that can endure both sun and storm blossom on the balcony and open its path to welcoming footsteps. But before we go, sit a little longer. Listen to the wind pass through. Know that all you have just learned is enough to live beautifully through the rest of this day. As for tomorrow, let the dawn continue the teaching. I am here as always beside you. My beloved child, after the seasons in which you learn to hold the cup of sweetness without becoming intoxicated, to return discipline to compassion, and to set the rippled mirror down upon the table, now I lead you onto the open ground, where a house shall be built. Do not rush to choose its color or the shape of its roof. Every beauty that endures begins beneath the earth. The architecture of a purposeful love is not built upon rising emotions, nor upon rigid rules, nor upon half-lit whispers. It stands on the foundation of peace you have learned, on the gentle boundaries you have practiced, on the shared light you have chosen. Upon that foundation, walls will stand straight, windows will open wide, and the porch will know how to welcome wind without fearing storms. Picture us kneeling together upon the ground, your hands touching the damp soil, listening to the underground stream. Where peace hums, softly lay your foundation. Where bitterness hisses, move your line. The first design of every structure that belongs to me is always drawn in transparent ink. You cannot see the lines, but you can feel the rhythm where truth and mercy run parallel, forming the axis of the whole house. I know you have longed for a love that is fitting, where two souls do not lean upon each other merely for rest, but walk toward a shared direction. That kind of love is not a room to hide from life. It is a home with open doors, a warm kitchen, a large table for guests, and a quiet corner for prayer. Sometimes it becomes a resting station, sometimes a watchtower, sometimes a small workshop where two hands labor together for the good of others. Yet whatever its form, the essence of this architecture is one thing: purpose. Purpose is not a motto hanging on the wall. It is a direction woven into small gestures. How two people speak when tired, how they spend money together, how they welcome a weary stranger, how they hold silence when words are unnecessary. A love with purpose does not ask, what do we gain first? It asks, who are we becoming? And when that second question is answered with faithfulness, the first is naturally resolved. I see you smile at the thought of the right person. I will not dim that joy. I simply invite you to go one step further. The right person requires the right ground. The right person standing on the wrong foundation becomes a weary test. But when the ground is peace, boundary, and light, the right person arrives like gentle rain, awakening the seed that has waited long to sprout. You will recognize them not by fireworks but by climate. After being near them, you will want to become better. Your heart will widen. Your hands will be more ready for humble work. They will not ask for the key to your secret cupboards. They will suggest reordering the shelves so your house may be neat and bright. They will not rush you into naming what has not yet matured. They will pour water and say, "Let's walk a little slower until our feet learn the soil." Purposeful love respects time as the mason respects wet cement. Touch it too soon and it cracks. Press it too hard and it breaks. Now I must tell you about the door. The door is where guests enter, but also where the house faces the street. A purposeful love builds doors wide enough for light to come in and firm enough to keep the night out. You will learn to stand at that threshold and greet the world not closed within two selfish hearts, nor exposed to the point where the wind snuffs out the flame. The language of the door is honesty and hospitality. Honesty so truth may pass unafraid, and hospitality so compassion may find a seat. Do not fear guests who bring inconvenience. A house with purpose is not afraid to serve. Yet do not fear to close the door when darkness falls. A thief does not need a sermon, he needs a latch. The right boundary is a latch that clicks softly, not a slam of wood. Its sound is reassurance, not rejection. Now the window. The window is the house's eyes, the place where two people learn to look outward without forgetting to look within. Through windows the wind enters. With wind the fire burns without smoke. You will practice opening the panes of knowledge, of experience, of dialogue with those who differ. Purposeful love hates darkness and loves air. It reads not to boast, but to love better. It listens to distant stories to serve nearby hearts. It invites wise elders, kind couples, and gentle mentors, not to show off its home, but to let the home absorb enduring fragrance. When windows open at the right time, whispers of doubt find fewer places to cling. Let me tell you about the roof. The roof does not boast. It bears sunlight, catches rain, endures storms. In purposeful love, the roof is the grace of quiet endurance, the ability to remain when the wind shifts, to keep the voice soft, when the world hardens, to cast shade over anger without extinguishing it. Many admire beautiful walls but forget strong roofs. Yet a beautiful wall cannot save a leaking house. You will learn the art of gentleness, knowing when to repair, when to cover, when to wait for sunlight before patching. Love is patient and kind. It is not self-seeking, not easily angered, and keeps no record of wrongs. If those words seem too large, take one piece to the kitchen today. Practice not easily angered. Tomorrow add patient. Roof tiles are not laid in a day. They are set one by the steady rhythm of patience. In my blueprint at the center of the house stands a long table. A table for eating, speaking, forgiving, rejoicing, grieving, and beginning again. You will understand why I place it at the heart, because purposeful love is never just about two people. It is a continual invitation to a third guest named meaning. Every meal cooked with a little extra, every spare chair kept ready, is your way of telling the world that this home was not built merely to preserve warmth between two, but to share that warmth outward like the aroma of fresh bread. When you open your table, loneliness visits less often, for loneliness dislikes the sound of knives and laughter. And when weary travelers rest their heads in your hands, you will see that your purpose is not a distant banner on a mountaintop, but something close, like a clean towel, a warm cup of tea, a question that listens. And I have not forgotten the kitchen. The kitchen is where you learn the grace of quiet service, to prepare before need arises, to clean up after the feast is done, to wash dishes as a prayer for each one who has eaten. There will be days when love is nothing more than a bowl of soup, when the other is ill, a pot of tea at midnight, or the act of bending down to pick up a rain-soaked sock. Do not dismiss these things. Walls are built of bricks, but covenants are built of repeated gestures, so familiar that the hands no longer think, they simply remember. When the hands remember, love no longer needs to prove itself. It becomes a beautiful habit. And beautiful habit, though unseen, is the most enduring part of every architecture. My beloved child, you may ask me, how can I know if the work is being built correctly? It is not measured by the number of promises, nor by the frequency of emotional highs, nor by the absence of conflict. The sign is the climate. After disagreement, peace returns more swiftly. After weariness, compassion grows deeper. After misunderstanding, truth is more honored. You will notice two people learning to apologize without conditions attached, to forgive without demanding repayment, through silence, to respect differences without revoking one another's citizenship in the same home. When these begin to happen, the foundation is setting like cement meeting sunlight, and the walls begin to echo with a warm sound when tapped. I must tell you something important. Purposeful love does not play the angel to deny the limits of being human. Each person carries a suitcase of history, habits, scars, and tendencies. Purpose does not erase the suitcase. It teaches two people to place both in the same closet so things are easy to find and no single scent dominates the air. You will learn to speak of hard things without magnifying your pride, to listen to another's wounds without becoming a self-righteous doctor. Healing unfolds only within safety, and safety is not the absence of mistakes, but the assurance that a mistake can be named without humiliation. When a home has that kind of safety, I see the inner grains of both hearts expand naturally with the seasons without cracking from strain. And finally, I place a piano in the corner of the house to sing, when joyful to weep, when sorrowful to rest, silent when words suffice. Purposeful love keeps music as part of its discipline. One shared song each week, one simple walk each month, one return each year to where it began. Not to mark ownership, but to remind the heart that it once chose and will choose again. When you touch the keys, remember that every lasting melody has its low notes. Do not fear them. The lows give meaning to the highs. Scripture says gently, He has made everything beautiful in its time. Place that verse upon your music stand. It will keep rhythm for the days that feel out of tune. The blueprint ends here as the sky leans toward evening. You stand amid marked ground, breathing in the scent of new soil, hearing my whisper. The house will not rise overnight, but each day a brick will be laid by peace, a beam lifted by compassion, a window framed by truth. You need only be faithful to the next small motion. I am here, shoulder to shoulder, hand upon the hammer, eyes upon the plumb line, and when the sunset falls, we shall light the first lamp warm enough that every passerby will know here a home is being built for a love with purpose. My beloved child, now that the blueprint lies open on the earth and the first lines have been traced by peace, it is time I teach you how to let this house run smoothly each day, without squeaks or strain, like an instrument properly tuned. Purposeful love is not only beautiful in ceremony, it must breathe in the kitchen, the yard, and the small path leading to the garden. It needs no fireworks to prove its worth. It lives on a quiet, steady rhythm, honest conversations, moments of shared silence, glances that apologize, hands that hold firm through the strong winds. In such a home, the covenant is not framed on the wall like calligraphy. It seeps into the very grain of every wooden thing, so that each object remembers it was made to serve love. First, place between you a single gentle yes. This yes does not promise endless sunshine, but commits that when clouds gather, both will draw chairs closer, sitting beneath the same roof, to let the rain pass, not fleeing to separate locked rooms. A covenant is not a chain. It is an anchor, sunk deep beneath the water, keeping the vessel from drifting when tides rise unexpectedly. When one grows weary, the other becomes breathless. When one burns hot, the other becomes shade. Love seeks not its own, keeps no record of wrongs, bears all things. That verse, which once seemed too grand, will grow familiar as you learn to speak three simple words: we together. Together to own the misspoken word, together to fix the squeaky hinge, together to cook the late meal, together to call back the one who felt forgotten. A covenant built like this needs no speeches, only endurance, the grace of staying. I give your home a holy routine like a farmer watering at dawn. Each week set aside a short yet deep time to recount your days together, what opened your hearts, what made your shoulders tense, what deserves thanks, what needs apology. Place a glass of water on the table to remember that words must be clear as water. Light a small candle to remember that truth needs warm light, not a blinding glare. Learn to look into each other's eyes when facing what is hard, and to touch the back of a hand when the other searches for words. This weekly ritual is not a tribunal. It is a gardener's act, clearing weeds before they choke the path. It need not be long or heavy, only consistent. Consistency is the secret of endurance. A hearth does not need a roaring flame, only a steady one fed with small, timely logs. There will come days when clashes echo through the house. I do not demand a home so holy that it never makes a sound. I teach holiness in how you resolve the sound. When voices rise, lower your body into the chair. When heat climbs, move the talk into the kitchen where steam reminds you to lift the lid for air. Pause before the last word turns into an arrow. You may ask for 10 minutes of quiet to write what you truly mean. Not blame, not verdict, but honest needs. I need to be heard fully. I need to know we are still a team. I need a hug before we continue. When calm returns, meet again. At the bright doorway, each repeats what was heard. To ensure understanding, then find one small act to do tonight. Washing dishes in turns, folding blankets, neatly setting phones aside, 10 minutes early to rest. Beside one another. Peace often travels humble paths like these. In the daily mechanics of this architecture, money is not taboo. It is water to be guided through proper pipes. Learn to name each stream, one for needs, one for shared dreams, one for generosity, and one small stream for unexpected joy. When money is given clear wise, it stops acting as master and becomes a servant. Each month, sit together before a blank sheet, not to argue right and wrong, but to ask, who are we becoming through the way we spend? If spending closes the house, cools the kitchen, or removes spare chairs for guests, the paper will guide you to realign. But if your giving thickens compassion, deepens rest, and lengthens laughter, then the water is flowing well. Alongside money is time, the hidden but greatest resource. Schedule time as you would set the table, meals for two, for family, for friends, and moments alone for each soul to return to the inner room. Solitude is not separation. It is the space where each keeps their flame alive, bringing that flame back to share. Everyone needs their own sky to remember who they are in my eyes, so that when they return, they love not from emptiness, but from overflow. Micah 7:8 says, "Though I fall, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light." So it is in covenant love, each may have their night, but shared light endures because both know the way home. Finally, let language be the electric system of your house. Some words illuminate, others short circuit. Remove absolutes like always and never. They are nails that jam the hinges of the door. Replace them with phrases of lived experience. When that happened, my heart tightened, followed by an invitation. Could we try this instead? Such words do not awaken pride, they awaken the heart. And when the heart awakens, the house smells like warmth again. I have seen grand homes dimmed by sharp speech and humble shelters shining with gentle words. Choose light, my child, my beloved child. Gratitude is indispensable in daily life. Give thanks as you would dust each day. Dust gathers even when the windows are closed. Appreciation must be switched on, even when busyness is thick. Each night before the lights go out, let the two of you speak 3 small things you are thankful for. A bowl of soup seasoned just right. A message that arrived at the perfect moment. A hand held in the middle of traffic. Gratitude retrains the memory. Instead of bolding mistakes, it engraves grace. And memory defines a home's climate. When Thanksgiving has become a habit, conflicts lose their edge because the house is warm enough that no one has to stand barefoot on cold stone. I am also placing in the house a map of calling. This map is not hung up to boast, but to point the way when you are tired. Together, write down what I am placing in each of your hearts, and where those callings overlap, whom to serve, by what means, with what resources. Any home that forgets its shared purpose will turn inward to scrutinize one another until the eyes ache. But when purpose sits at the center, the gaze turns outward and differences become assets, one good at opening the door, one good in the kitchen, one skilled with hands, one skilled with words, one quick of step, one steady of pace. That shared center keeps the house from the temptation to turn love into a mirror that reflects only yourselves. I made love to be a window, looking out upon meadows, not a mirror, forever showing two faces. And then comes the ritual of reconciliation, a small bridge joining two banks after a rain. When there is fault, the one at fault steps first toward the middle, with words that make no excuses. I'm sorry for my part. The one being apologized to walks half the distance with an open hand. I'm listening and I choose us again. Together they seal the ritual with a small action, lighting a stick of incense, washing the dishes side by side, taking a short walk around the neighborhood. Reconciliation needs visible markers, so the body too remembers anger has left, peace remains. Such a ritual is not the same as a casual patching up. It carries the wound through muscles, through scent, through footfall, so that the evidence of healing finds shelter in memory. At times you may fear that all these rhythms make love seem formulaic. My child, formulas do not kill love. The lack of rhythm withers it. Rhythm does not shackle freedom. Rhythm builds the frame in which freedom can dance. Once beautiful habits are laid as a foundation, feelings have a safe place to come and go without upending the furniture. You will be surprised to find the more faithful you are with little things, the freer your heart becomes to create. Sweet surprises, a handful of wildflowers, a hurried card, an impulsive ride to the sea at dusk, grow richer when scattered across a weekday already at peace. At day's end, I teach you a short prayer for the household. Let peace be the umpire. Let compassion hold the roof. Let truth guard the door. Repeat it as one who pulls the blanket up to the chest before sleep. In the morning, rise and brew 2 cups of tea, set them by the window cracked open. The first light steps in like a familiar guest. It sits beside your quiet covenant and smiles. In that smile, your home will learn to run, not loud, not showy, simply steady. And steady is the language of long love. Today, your part is only this. Choose a single rhythm to begin a weekly ordinary liturgy, a reconciliation rule, a blank page on which to draw the map of calling. I will stand beside you, my hand upon your shoulder, nodding, as you drive in the first nail of a new habit. When the nail enters the right grain, you will hear a small, certain ting. That is the sound of the future roof growing in silence. And tomorrow we will take the next step, raising braces for unexpected winds, laying another row of tiles for the harsh noon, so that purposeful love not only stands firm, but casts cool shade for those who pass by. My beloved child, a beautiful architecture is only the beginning. Living in it through the years is the quiet, decisive test. To maintain the roof is to keep walls from cracking when the weather turns, to keep the fire from going out when the wind shifts, to keep the table from going cold on long days. Purposeful love does not advance by a string of blazing crescendos. It grows by faithful circles, returning to the foundation, checking beams and posts, replacing a loosened nail, wiping the dust from clouded panes. Each return does not reset the house to what it was. It thickens the warmth, strengthens the grain, brightens another small pane. Before stormy days, the wise quietly hang an emergency plan behind the cupboard door. When dark clouds gather, the two of you do not scatter. Both slow your words, deepen your breathing, set aside side comments, and return to a single channel of conversation. Place on the table a candle, a pitcher of water, and a blank page. Name the event. Lay down the feelings. Listen to the needs. Write down the proposals. What was nameless becomes gentle when called by its true name. Isaiah once breathed softly, "In quietness and in trust shall be your strength." That word does not deny the storm. It only marks the stance of the one who keeps the house in the midst of it. There will also come a time when you see that some habits which once fed the flame are now only ash. Some meetings that once blossomed now only drain away time. The art of pruning is not harsh. It understands seasons. The two of you look each other in the eye and ask what still bears fruit and what are we clinging to merely out of nostalgia. Pruned in the right place, the tree shivers once and breathes wide. Sap returns to where it is needed. Drop a noisy outing to keep a quiet walk. Lower a lovely goal to preserve shared prayer. Stop a good project so there are arms free to hold the weary. Ecclesiastes once whispered, "There is a time to plant, and a time to uproot, a time to keep, and a time to cast away." You do not let go because you are bored, but because you love the right things enough to keep them. A house cannot run 7 days a week like a clock wound without end. Press a clock too hard, and the spring will snap. So set apart a simple Sabbath day as a charging station. Lay down your work as one sets the hoe by the field's edge. Look over the meadow and breathe softly. The rest is yours. On that day, open the home to plain joys, fresh bread in the oven, a sprig of wildflowers on the table, a long piece of music, a midday nap. Do not cram it with sacred appointments. Simply be together. Love does not grow because you do many things jointly, but because two hearts share spaces of quiet that remind them they belong to each other. Do not forget to lace ordinary days with laughter. Dry-roofed homes are those that forget how to rejoice rightly. Make room for surprise, a first-try recipe, a silly dance in the kitchen, a tomato plant by the porch, a bike ride over the new bridge at sundown. Joy is like oil on a hinge. It lets doors open smoothly and softens hearts hardened by difference. Not every conflict is a matter of principle. Sometimes it is only the lack of a good bout of laughter. Purposeful love does not consume itself. It reaches outward like a wide eave inviting passers-by to shelter from the rain. Each month, the two of you agree on one concrete outward act, visiting an elderly neighbor, giving books to a child, lending hands to a volunteer group, cooking a meal for new parents. When hands open, the air within the home circulates. Petty irritations collapse when the heart looks outward together. Romans once counseled 3 simple, enduring measures. Rejoice in hope. Be patient in affliction. Be constant in prayer. These 3 are crossbeams that brace the roof against the wind. Boundaries with both families and the wider community are part of the home's very breath. Walls have doors and doors have latches. A latch set rightly brings ease. Practice words that are clear and warm. We honor your good intentions, and we need an afternoon for just us. We love family dinners. This month, fewer unplanned visits would help. Boundaries set early are light. Boundaries set late are heavy. Agree on a gentle rescue signal when festivities exceed your limits, a touch of the hand, a look, a small code phrase to withdraw together. Gentle boundaries do not push people away. They protect love, keeping the air pure enough that company can stay longer. My beloved child, in every measurement, do not count achievements. Measure the climate. Do not count how many arguments arose. Notice how swiftly peace returned. Do not count great gifts. Remember the small thank yous whispered before sleep. Do not count beautiful photos posted online. Count the quiet meals shared without a phone. These subtle signs reveal the underground current. When they rise, you know the water beneath is full. When they fall, do not panic. Just maintain. Add one more weekly ritual release. One outside commitment. Sleep an hour earlier. Close one noisy door, open one brighter window. There will come a day when the sound of comparison's footsteps echoes lightly across the floor, whose house is larger, whose photos brighter, whose calendar fuller. Meet that guest at the porch, but do not invite it in. Comparison is a cunning thief. It does not steal your possessions. It changes your light. What was warm begins to feel lacking. What was enough begins to seem small. The antidote is gratitude and purpose. Ask again. What was this home made for? How do the things we already have serve that purpose? When purpose stands still at the center of the room, jealousy quietly finds the door. The true heritage of a home is more than papers. It is the habits of grace trained into muscle memory. The stories still told after supper, the children who learn around the table how to apologize, give thanks, and serve. Do not wait for gray hair to think of legacy. The two of you can write a small household manual, how we resolve differences, how we spend for others, how we rest, how we open our door to the weary. That small book will be a map for yourselves in tired seasons, and for footsteps learning to build homes by watching yours. Each year, dedicate one humble day to renew your yes. Read a few lines from what you've written, add one that fits the new season, remove one that's become too tight. Change a frame, plant rosemary, and put fresh sheets on the bed. The body needs visible signs to know that the heart has chosen again. During that day, speak 3 old but new phrases. Thank you for staying. I'm sorry for where I lacked, and I still choose you. Old words polished by faithfulness shine longer. There will come times when every formula seems to fail. When that happens, don't turn up the volume, slow the rhythm. Return to 3 anchors. Let peace be the referee. When peace is lost, pause. When it returns, proceed. Let compassion hold the roof. Choose gentleness over sharpness, patience over pride. Let truth guard the door. Speak enough, speak face to face, speak to heal, not to wound. When these 3 stand firm, the house endures storms without losing its name. And if a shingle flies off, you'll know where to begin repairing: at the table where dialogue happens, at the kitchen where service begins, at the window where light returns. Micah 7:8 says, "Though I fall, I will rise." That is the heartbeat of every enduring roof. Fall and rise, tire and rest, stray, and realign, lack and replenish. Not because you are flawless, but because I am here, in the sound of chopsticks touching bowls, in the folded towel, in the smile that admits fault, in the hand held under city lights. I see your palms thickened by the hammer's work, yet warmer for holding another's hand. You no longer dream of a perfect house. You are building one that can truly live, to love, to forgive, to grow, to bear fruit for those who pass by, and for your own heart at evening. At the end of the day, as you walk through the rooms, turning off the lights, I follow, closing the windows, pausing at the table to light a small lamp. That lamp is my promise: tomorrow there will be sunlight again, work for your hands, warmth for your hearts. And purposeful love will age in the most beautiful way: less display, more fragrance of fresh bread. Fewer words, more knowing glances, less strain, more being. Walk on in peace, my child. I am here each breath, each day. From the porch of peace, we step together onto another field where the wind shifts and the world grows louder. As the light you carry begins to shine more clearly, jealousy will lift its head like a shadow, unwilling to yield today. It rarely arrives with shouts. It comes as invisible arrows, a half-joking comment that sinks the heart, a passing glance that leaves a chill, a compliment with a small hook of doubt. I do not bring you here to frighten you. but to teach you the language of quiet battles, the kind that need no drums, only armor, well-fastened shoes, tied firm, and a heart that keeps its rhythm. Do not repay evil for evil, but overcome evil with good. That old saying is no idealistic dream. It is a practical strategy for a soul that wants to go far without turning to stone. You ask, how will I know an arrow has flown? The soul has its own sense. When a meeting leaves your chest tight, though words were polite, when a suggestion suddenly makes you feel smaller instead of stronger, when you come home from a gathering and peace seems to wait outside the porch, pause and name it, "An Dablo." Invisible arrow has touched me. Naming it is not blaming, it is pulling out the arrow before it breaks within. Then place your hand upon your heart, breathe slowly, and invite me into the pain. Return this space to light. I will come as a gentle healer, not tearing, not angry, but cleansing the wound, binding it, and teaching you how to stand still until the bleeding stops. Your first protection is inner armor woven from 3 threads, timely silence, truthful words, spoken slowly, and blessings freely given. Timely silence is not bitter endurance. It is closing the windows when dust rises, keeping the kitchen clean. Truthful words spoken slowly are not fear. They are weighing each phrase upon the scale of purpose. If I speak, what will be healed, what might tear, and blessings freely given are not performance. They are how you refuse to let the arrow lodge deeper. When your lips bless, your body remembers another climate, and the inner chambers stop producing poison. Jealousy feeds on heated reactions. Without fuel, it fades like a spark starved of wind. I have appointed my angels to guard your door. Some days you will feel as if a shield stands between you and a cutting remark. It is not that you have grown hard, but that the front of you is now coated with peace. Micah 7:8 again whispers, "Though I fall, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light." Carry that verse like a folded note in your pocket. Each time a sideways glance unsettles you, touch the note and rise again quietly. Rising is not striking back. It is returning to the current of your work, your love, your service, the calling that remains. The enemy wants you to step off the road. I want you to keep walking. To continue, recognize the 3 surfaces where envy often clings. First, the surface of new success, those blossoms that surprise even you. Do not apologize for blooming. Simply learn to water discreetly. Speak less of fruit, more of roots. Give thanks more than you display. Share the harvest before you think of storing it. When grace flows through you instead of stopping at you, envy loses its address. Second, the surface of comparison, when your eyes glance sideways at another's calendar, meal, or face. Comparison is the side door left open for envy to enter. Its cure is purpose. Each time your heart tightens, ask, what was our home made to do today? The answer will redirect the wind. Third, the surface of rumor, the stories that drift across your threshold like litter on the breeze. Do not pick up the litter to smell it. Sweep it into the gutter. You do not lack compassion when you refuse to be a storage house for absent voices. You are preserving the climate of your home. Walk on in this way, my child. Guard the air of your heart as one guards a flame on a windy evening, cupped gently, not clenched. The world will grow louder, but you will grow quieter, steadier, luminous. For wherever love is purposeful, peace becomes its language, and light never runs out of breath. My beloved child, at times jealousy will disguise itself as concern. I'm afraid you'll become proud. I'm saying this to wake you up. I'm being blunt because I care. Test the fruit of such words. The way you test a ripe fruit, after hearing them, does your heart widen, grow warm, and long to love and serve more, or does it tighten, grow cold and brace to defend itself? Not every blunt word comes from truth. Many come from unhealed wounds. If you sense that the strings of that person's instrument are slack, don't let them play in your living room. You may smile and keep a gentle boundary. I've heard you. I'll bring this into prayer and discuss it in an open space. Returning things to an open space is returning them to the light. When the arrows no longer come only from outside but spring up within you, yes, you too can feel envy. I am not ashamed of you. I invite you to lay jealousy on the table like an object that needs sunlight. Tell me the story inside the sense of being left behind, the fear of not being enough, the old memories of being overlooked. Then we switch positions. You bless the other person by name with a specific blessing, a good thing to flow into their life. Each time you bless, the little root of envy in you loosens. No need to yank, just be consistent. Steadiness defeats bad habits the way water wears down stone. I also give you a ritual for sealing the backdoor praise in the midst of noise. Don't wait for quiet to sing. Hum while the noise is still loud. Praise won't change others immediately. It changes the air pressure in your own lungs. As you sing, your belly relaxes, your shoulders lower, your heart remembers the home rhythm. The enemy shoots arrows to the beat of panic. He misses when your heart keeps a steady pulse. There will be days when you can only whisper, "You are still good," and that is enough to clear the sky for a moment. That moment is enough to take a few more steps into open space. You need allies. Lone bravery looks noble only in short films. In real life, quiet battles require a formation. Choose 2 or 3 safe people, faces that don't crave sensational gossip, don't like speaking from pedestals, who can keep confidence and ask healing questions. When an arrow hits, send a message, please pray. My chest feels tight. They won't interrogate. They will hold up your hands the way Aaron and Hur held up Moses. Lifting your hands is to keep the flame from going out, not to help you defeat someone. It is to get you across the day's field without losing your name. My angels add wind at your back when intercession rises. Some arrows fall only because of the resonance of many quiet amens. There will be times you must speak directly. Choose a bright place, an hour when you have strength, and begin with what is true. I value this relationship. Then speak from your experience without judging motives. When I heard that, my heart tightened and propose a boundary. Let's not discuss people who aren't here, or I need us to stop the comparisons. If they receive it, a burden lifts. If they react, keep the room's climate intact. Gentle tone, upright posture, warm eyes, and if needed, end early with a blessing. In every scenario, the goal is not to win an argument. The goal is to keep peace as the householder. You must also learn strategic retreat. Not every battle must be fought to the end. Some require a detour. When a space repeatedly makes peace shrink, reduce your visits, change the depth of engagement, or close the door for a time so the air in your house can turn green again. Retreat is not cowardice. It is conserving strength for the main road. I do not glorify exhaustion. I love endurance. Endurance requires wise stewardship of strength. Do not forget to complain to me. Your complaints do not trouble me. Say everything. I'm tired of being misunderstood. I'm weary of hooked compliments. I feel surrounded. I listen. I do not justify anyone, and I do not urge you to toughen up just to finish quickly. I lay my hand on your back, breathe with you, then point toward the path. We will go on, but slowly. There's shade at the next turn. And indeed you will find shade, a smile without envy, a sincere thank you, an embrace without scorekeeping. Such small shadows are the density of heaven in ordinary days. When evening falls, I look at you not as one who has dodged every arrow, but as one who has learned to pull arrows out and not throw them back. You walk amid noise without letting it change your heartbeat. You stand among comparisons without changing your gaze. You know how to bless when envied, to be silent, when words are useless to speak, when truth needs a place to stand, to withdraw when the air is too murky, and you remain soft. That is the sign of victory. Unlike steel, softness does not snap. It absorbs the shock and returns it to the ground. From here we will pass through stronger winds. Do not fear, the armor fits, the laces are tight, and peace belongs to you as surely as your name belongs to me. Tomorrow when the sun rises, you will do what you always do: love, serve, endure. Light's victory is that it remains. I remain in you, for you, and beside you. Now I teach you the art of sheltering when jealousy's wind grows strong, not building a cold fortress but stretching a porch roof that welcomes sun, avoids rain, and keeps the hearth warm. Shelter is not hiding. It is reorganizing the rhythm of life so peace presides. Imagine a day when the streets buzz and rumors swirl like dry leaves along the path your windows need not slam. Just draw the curtains enough that dust won't land in your rice bowl. This gentle discretion is the first tactic. Speak less about what is not yet ripe, not from fear of loss, but from respect for process. Seeds need time underground. Mention them too early, and you tug the sprout from the dark moisture it needs to take root. When something between you and me is still setting, keep it in the chamber of your chest, like a lamp sheltered by a hand, so the wind of the world does not snuff it. I want you to establish a climate covenant in the spaces you enter. At friends' tables, in work groups, within your community, you can be the first to say, "Here we speak of those absent in a way that if they were present, they would feel respected." Such a sentence is like setting a bowl of water in the middle of the table to quench sparks before they catch. If someone forgets, remind them with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Once the climate is set, jealousy loses oxygen. It cannot live where people practice true praise, honest feedback, and invite light into the living room instead of whispering in the hallway. Sheltering also means choosing the right channel for your voice. When misunderstood, the instinct to correct everywhere will only drain your breath. Choose the open square, not the noisy alley. Speak where the relevant people are present with few but clear words aimed at healing rather than venting. If such a place is not yet ready, wait. Waiting is not losing. Waiting trusts the endurance of truth. On a day with enough sun, the dew vanishes by itself. You do not need to pick up every drop of dew from the grass. Your task is to keep the grass from being trampled by haste. My beloved child, when public opinion rises like waves, you will feel the temptation to fragment doing, explaining, reassuring, defending all at once. I invite you to gather yourself into a single point, to do what you are called to do with clean hands and an upright gaze. Each morning before opening the door, place your hand over your heart and whisper a short prayer. Let peace be the umpire. Let compassion hold the roof. Let truth guard the door. That short prayer is the shoelace tied firm before you walk. Micah 7:8 says, "Though I fall, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light." Carry that verse like a warm talisman in your inner pocket. Whenever the noise tries to enter, touch it and remember the rhythm of your house. I also teach you another layer of protection, the resonance of intercession. You do not need many people, just 2 or 3 safe souls, not addicted to gossip, not amused by others' flaws. They are your night watchmen, taking turns keeping the fire when you are weary. When you send a message, "My chest feels tight," they do not respond with strategies. They borrow heaven's breath for you. Keep her under the shadow of your wings. You pass through the day, and peace does not go out. I send angels to stand at your threshold like those who set up a windbreak at the end of the roof. The wind still blows, but the fire stays alive. Jealousy often shoots its arrows through praise with hooks or advice with thorns. Learn to recognize them and answer with a tone that gives the thorns no place to cling. When someone says, "You're doing so well, but don't get too proud," you smile. "Thank you for the reminder. I'm walking slowly with peace." When someone remarks, "You only got that because you're favored," you respond, "I believe every good thing is grace meant for service. We're finding ways to share it." This is not sarcasm. It is the atmosphere that leaves suspicion without soil. Speak, then go on to your next act of kindness. The consistency of goodness is the thickest, softest armor. There will be days when you cannot avoid a direct conversation with one who envies. Choose an hour of strength and a place filled with light. Begin by returning honor. I value this relationship, so I'd rather speak face to face. Describe your experience instead of guessing their motives. When I heard that, my peace withdrew. Set a boundary that is clear yet warm. Let's stop comparing, and if we worry for each other, let's talk directly. If they soften, rejoice. If they harden, keep your voice gentle and end early with a blessing. Blessing does not mean staying close. Blessing is locking the door of bitterness from the inside, so you do not poison yourself. Protection also means keeping the immune system of your household strong. Maintain the rhythms you have learned: weekly conversations, nightly Thanksgiving, Sabbath, rest, a monthly outward act of generosity. These habits are vitamins that keep the blood of your home flowing, so when arrows strike, the wounds do not fester. When a house has rhythm, envy knocks, hears laughter, and leaves discouraged. It thrives on chaos, on noise, skipped meals, short sleep. So eat warmly, rest enough, smile, genuinely work honestly, love steadily. The enemy struggles against constancy. Sometimes the arrow does not come from outside, but rises from within you as you watch another being lifted up. Do not fear that truth. Bring it to the porch and name it. I am jealous. Naming it is pulling out half the shaft. Then bless that person with a specific prayer. May they use their gift rightly, and may I rejoice when our shared work prospers. Repeat this for a few days, and you will be amazed your heart will stop contracting. The soul learns freedom through such quiet exercises, no drama, only patience. I place another instrument in your hands for when the air grows heavy, praise amid the noise. You need no loud voice, only honest words. You are still good. You have not left me. Your peace is not tied to seasons. Praise restores your identity. You are loved, not one who must prove. When identity stands upright, arrows change direction. The psalm once said, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies." You eat calmly. Your head is anointed. Your cup overflows. And the enemy, including envy itself, has nothing to do with someone who keeps eating in peace. Sometimes the best defense is a strategic withdrawal. Not everyone must be invited to your porch, and not every porch must stay open all day. Reduce your presence where peace fades. Change the depth of conversation with those who love whispers. Save the best of yourself for the space where you are called to bear fruit. Withdrawal like this is not resentment, it is stewardship. I never asked you to exhaust yourself to prove love. I ask you to love by staying faithful to your work, your home climate, your unguarded smile. At the end of the day, restore your inner space, dust off a sentence that disturbed your heart. Fold away a glance that carries a hook. Open the window to let the night wind pass through the kitchen. Whisper, "Make me gentle without weakness, clear without harshness, strong without roughness." That whisper is a slow turning key. Each inner lock slides back into place. When the light goes out, I stand at the door watching over your sleep. Far away, the world still chatters. Inside, the blanket of peace has reached your shoulders. Tomorrow you will rise, tie your laces, bow to the dawn, and go about the work of light, to love, to serve, to endure. True protection is not building higher walls. It is forming steadier habits. And steady is the language of those who finish the race. From here, as we enter the next stretch, I will teach you how to turn the winds themselves into exercises for the soul to lift and lower in rhythm, to breathe deeply, so you do not merely avoid being swept away, but learn to run freely on roads, once muddy. But for now, rest. Listen to the quiet night. Let my peace, which the world did not give and cannot take, be the thin blanket over your brow. I am here at the porch, keeping watch till morning. My child, now gather all that you have learned into a flexible soul. Turn wind into training, use each arrow as an early warning, and let the world's noise become a metronome for your peace. Battlefields are no longer places that push you off the path. They are running tracks with clear lanes where each lap widens your lungs of faith. Enter each day like one used to early rising. Tie your shoes with prayer, warm up with gratitude, and run the familiar road with a new heart. People may still talk, but the air between you and them has been repressured by me. At that pressure, envy cannot sprout and peace blooms. See the mystery, many winds come not to destroy, but to reveal where the roof still leaks, which latch needs tightening, which habit needs reinforcing. When a prickly word touches you, do not hurt as before. Take note like an architect inspecting the house. Here another coat of quiet paint. There soften the edge of the boundary. That corner needs a window of light. You repair not to please the world, but so your home remains livable. So the fire does not die, the table stays warm. Each small adjustment is a paving stone. One day looking back, you'll find the road smoother for the feet that follow. There will be noonday rumors bending like warped sunlight on the wall and evening glances stretched like thin strings across your path. Don't duck. Pause, look at the string, and smile. That smile is not pretense. It's proof that inside you there is already a carpeted room of peace. When the inside is wide, the thread outside looks small. Step over it lightly, not with a stomp, but with a lift, a whispered blessing, a well-timed thank you, a simple act of kindness. Such gestures add weight to the bright side of the scale, and slowly the balance tilts, not because you win the argument, but because the climate changes. My beloved child, there will be days when I lead you through a field of patience, where others are praised, invited, lifted up, while your name stays silent and your chair remains empty. You pull out a chair for someone else, and notice your heart no longer creaks the way it once did. That is the secret training, teaching your inner muscles to grow strong without showing off. Micah 7:8 says, "Though I fall, I will rise. Though I sit in darkness, the Lord will be my light." You no longer use that verse as an emergency charm, but as a daily rhythm. Fall, rise, dark, light, slow, steady. In that rhythm, you begin to see why silence at the right moment is a language, and why gentleness does not mean weakness. It is strength, choosing the path that wounds the least. Then jealousy may try to slip in through a moral-looking door. Fix them. Prove them wrong. You smile and move the Savior's chair out of the room center. You do not reform people by haste. You reform the atmosphere by faithfulness. You pour water, set the table, keep promises, put your phone down when someone is near, wipe a tear, bake bread for someone far. These are not headline deeds, but they change the scent of the air. When the air changes, noise feels out of place. It waits a while on the porch, then leaves. I also want you to learn how to use headwinds to build endurance. When you hear a hooked compliment, answer briefly and truthfully, then return to work. When a post tempts you to compare, close the app and open your purpose journal. When someone invites you to speak about an absent friend, schedule that conversation for an open square where all are present. Each act is a small lift, lower repetition, lifting what belongs to light, lowering what belongs to shadow. Practice steadily, and your heart will find its rhythm without forcing it. Then arrows that once pierced will only remind you to pull up your collar. They will no longer break the skin. If one day an arrow does sink deep, yes, even the trained can slip, I do not blame you. I bring you into a bright room, sit beside you, and loosen each layer. You tell me where it hurts, where anger hides, where shame lingers. I listen, nod, breathe with you. Then I teach a closing ritual. Wash your hands in water, whisper, thanks. Write one line of blessing for the one who hurt you, and do one kind act before the day ends. The body remembers. The wound has been tended, the poison drained, the road reopened. The next morning that place becomes a scar, a quiet badge showing you lived, were hurt, healed, and grew thicker skin without losing tenderness. You will find that battle and shelter are not two halves but the inner and outer sides of one garment. Battle teaches boundaries with grace. Shelter allows you to fight without freezing. When you must speak, you speak fully and face to face. When you must keep silent, you do so to hear peace ruling your heart. When you must withdraw, you step back without withdrawing love. When you must advance, you move without pushing others down. Each small decision becomes a beam in the inner architecture where jealousy finds no long stay. A beautiful hour will come unannounced. You will stand among those who once drained your breath, and suddenly your heart will be as calm as water after wind. You will look at them without narrowing your eyes, listen without tightening your chest. You will choose gentle words, because gentleness is your house language now, not a tactic to earn love. You will see that others too are wrestling with their own shadows, and you will quietly bless them to learn this rhythm. Such blessing is not lofty. It simply declares that your house will keep baking bread, not brewing bitterness. If someone asks your secret, you will not hand them a list. You will describe a wide porch, a bright living room, a warm kitchen, a long table, small household rituals, Thanksgiving honesty, intercession rest, and an old verse framed on the shelf. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Tell them these were not built in a day, but in many ordinary days. Ordinary is where the miracle of perseverance grows. When perseverance roots deep, envy looks down and sees no soil left, it flies elsewhere. When the sunset of this chapter arrives, you stand at the porch hearing the city's noise while your heart stays still. You touch the new frame of the door, glance at the mended roof, smile at the smell of bread in the oven. You know more winds will come, more stray words, more missteps. But you also know something greater. You have learned to stay in the light, not by gritting your teeth, but by habitual gentleness. To walk among crowds without losing the heartbeat of home. Tonight, before sleep, whisper, let peace be the umpire, let compassion hold the roof, let truth guard the door. That short prayer is the key on your bedside shelf. Tomorrow, you'll unlock the day, greet the morning, and go on. I go with you as I always have and will, until every wind becomes only the memory of beautiful training on the road called peace. Thank you for receiving today's message. Subscribe and ring the bell so we can keep sharing these living words, building steadfast faith, and walking together in the boundless love of God. Amen.